How you doing, James?
Oh my God!
Big goal to go from the two. Toss sweep one for James White. Cuts it under the right arm. Cuts it upfield. Driving forward. Diving to the goal line. A touchdown and a title for the Patriots.
I can't believe it!
Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler.
45 remaining. Tatum drives down and throws it down.
Bases loaded. 2 out. Hard hit into right. Back at the wall. Tie game. Big Poppy.
No icing. For the first time in 39 years, the Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup.
Anything possible!
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Kicking It with Kruse. I'm your host, as always, Ben Kruse, alongside my co-host. With me tonight, as always, James Gonzalez. We'll plan to get Isaiah Leon coming on in just a little bit. First, before we get started, James, I'd like to thank you and Isaiah for holding on the fort last night on the extra point. I got the chance to watch some of it last night, as well as batter up. This week as well too. So I definitely want to thank you guys for doing that. Which obviously was able to join for those, but wasn't able to. In terms of for tonight, another edition of my show for tonight. We're gonna get to a lot of stuff. It's the weekend. Happy Friday, the 13th, James. To all who celebrate, if you do, I know, right? Yeah. So. Definitely a lot in the sports world for sure. But before we get started, make sure to like, subscribe to all our stuff on the IM6, MI6 network, doing the extra point, batter up, lots of stuff. October is really one of the best sports months, I think, in the calendar year. So it's really awesome for sure. We have obviously college football. I'm watching the Colorado game as I'm live as of right now with you as of right now. We got basketball, preseason basketball. We have college football, of course, tonight, or more tonight, and then more tomorrow, and then NFL Week 6, and then we have our ALCS and NLCS already, confirmed. So we'll go through the matchups. We'll also recap a little bit of the division series that we didn't get the chance to tonight. So yeah, without further ado, James, go to you. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. For Halloween, I was trying to figure out a costume to wear, but I just need to get some sunglasses, dye my hair blonde, whatever it is, get some more muscles, and then hold this football around, and then I'll be Pat McAfee. So I'm going to try to get that done by the end of the month. I'm good. You mentioned October. I was just telling Isaiah this yesterday. It's like, dude, you have college football, NFL football, postseason baseball, hockey, and NBA regular season starting up. UFC bound to happen. Just everything literally is happening right now. This time and in March, around, when March Madness is going on, MLB, baseball going up, and then NBA, playoffs coming up. That time and this time are the best times.
Yeah, I mean, between this month and then March. March, I'm a little biased because it's my birthday month. But, still with that being said, March Madness, best time of year, nothing beats it. And I'm also hoping that UConn can repeat for another basketball championship. So that also adds a little bit to it. So with that obviously, for sure. But we'll probably get Isaiah come up pretty soon for tonight, so I'm looking forward to having him come on. But without further ado, James, let's get started. And obviously, we'll kind of go through, as usual, baseball first. We'll get into NFL in terms of our game picks, recap Week 5. Crazy enough that we're already in Week 6. We're about, I'd say, almost a quarter, like half of the season. College football, I believe, is in Week 7. I was even thinking about before coming on tonight that Colorado, I believe, is like 1 to 2 more wins to become eligible and obviously they were one of the worst teams for the last couple of years. And they're up 22-0 right now. Obviously, Stanford's not that great. Didn't you go to see Stanford play USC, right?
No, I went to see Nevada the second week in the Coliseum. Yeah.
Yeah. It was either one of those teams. Kind of one of those teams where they're just very, this is not.
They're not good.
So, but really happy for Coach Prime. Travis Hunter's back tonight too, and he looks back. I know obviously Stanford's not great, but it's great to see him back for sure. And obviously Shedeur doing his thing. So, let's get started, and we'll get really quickly to our AL and NLDS. So we'll start obviously with the baseball as usual. And James, obviously before we get into our AL and NLCS, is there any other reactions that you obviously want to get into from the division series? I mean, for me personally first, you look at this, and we're going to kind of go more into it after our ALCS and NLCS, but a lot of the top teams in the postseason this year got bounced. You look at it, you look at the Dodgers, you look at the Braves, you look at the Rays, and look at the Orioles. I mean, and kind of think about it and be like, did any of that layoff pretty much affect them? One, and two, is it more kind of in terms of, I was reading something too in terms of, does winning the division matter anymore? Right? It's more in terms of when you play in the postseason, it's not always the best teams that wins it. It's more of momentum. And I think that you see a lot with it, at least in this postseason, that a lot of teams are either made for this or it's just the momentum, and that's obviously, now we're looking at for the LCS and LCS. And obviously if you want to react to any of the ALDS and NLDS, by all means, that's fine. Because I'll obviously probably get into a little bit myself, but what do you think about that? Do you feel like, is there any type of superstition in a way where there are some teams that, had a little bit of the layoff? I mean, Brian Snicker, after yesterday's loss, I think got asked about that. And he said, well, Houston had a little layoff and they didn't affect. So, I mean, it doesn't always affect every team. But you kind of have to think about it in terms of like, the Braves were, but for example, the Braves were one of the best teams in the regular season. I mean, they were breaking records left and right. And then come playoffs, I mean, the Phillies obviously play really well against them. But there's something definitely there for sure. And I don't know if there's a lot of proof in the last couple of years, but at least this year, there is definitely a lot of proof to see.
I'll tell you what, now for me, and maybe it's been like this for a while, ever since the wild card has come on into play, more the last 20 years, not at first with the wild card that was brought in 95, because the Yankees, of course, ruled that and won they won the first wild card, but they end up winning the World Series on division titles. But it seems like it started maybe with my Angels, where they won the wild card and they went on to win the World Series in 2002. So for me, maybe it's the hottest team that comes in will win a series. It doesn't matter which one, or the most together team, and the one that's the most prepared. You're talking about the Dodgers and the Braves. They have somewhat, I want to say, older teams. So for them to have, almost a week off, I think it was, that's gonna hurt. Plus, you're taking some of the end of the regular season off too. So you add that on to the days off where there's the wild card series. That's gonna hurt you. But you can't tell teams and players, just don't do so well in the regular season. Barely get in and get hot. You can't do that. You can't, force that unless you're injured, basically. And then you get better in August and September. You're not going to tell a team to suck for the first 3 or 4 months and then get hot. You just can't do that. But it's just funny, though, how this ended up and the way that we have the championship series. The thing with Minnesota, and I know they won the wildcard series, but there was no way they were going to beat Houston. Tampa Bay, they came in with a lot of injuries, so I was kind of shocked at home. But when you miss 3 of your starters, I think that was going to hurt you anyway. And Houston was coming in hot from the end of the regular season, despite only getting the wild card spot. Baltimore, I know we'll preview all this, but they were too young. They weren't used to the postseason, and you saw that right away. Once they got down, even at home, the crowd was taken out of it. So I think it just depends on the team you have too. But with Philadelphia, they were the hottest. Arizona, they played the most efficient, I believe. That's what I would say. They played the most efficient in their series. They swept so far. And then Miami, it was like, okay, it's a cool story that they got in. But when you think about the Braves, the Dodgers, and somewhat of the Orioles, those division-winning teams that have got kicked out right away of the divisional round, I know they're going to say what me and Isaiah was talking about last night, where, okay, you should have it the way it was, where it was just one playoff game. You can have as many series as you want. You can put in as many teams as you want. But just have it one game like it used to be. I think it was in, 20 – they brought it in 2015 or 16 where they added another wild card spot. And then, 2020, they had 8 teams, and then now they have 3. I guess if the big teams, like the big name teams, complain so much, they'll get it back to one game for a wild card. You can have, the same amount of teams comes in, but don't have a 3-game series. So that'd be my only solution. I didn't mind it though, but I know we had a horrible wild card series. Everything was, swept. Everything was, set and dry. I would have liked to see the Rays at full strength. That was the unfortunate thing, but it just felt like Toronto didn't belong. Milwaukee wasn't really going to go anywhere, you figured. Then Miami was just there. But we'll get into the divisional round now. But I think that was what you wanted to. I'm sorry, you want to talk about how the format is, and then I'm sorry, what was the other thing? Oh, how does it affect? Yeah, so I explained it, I guess.
Yeah, and obviously we'll probably talk a little about it maybe when Isaiah comes on a little bit later too. I also was thinking too when you were talking is the pitch clock, and in terms of if you've kind of felt that kind of carry over from the regular season to the postseason. And I'm going to say, James, and I don't know if you're going to agree or disagree with me, but I'm all favor right now with this pitch clock. I think it's really helped a lot. You look at it in terms of the postseason, I feel like the games are they're already long as it is for like a lot of time in past years in terms of postseason baseball. And if you're going to make it series specifically, where people essentially are trying to still tune into it, especially like a lot of sports going in, I was a little more critical, I guess you can say, like early on in the regular season. But as time's gone on, I think it's been awesome. And I think really with the atmospheres too, you still kind of really feel that it really hasn't, I'm not looking at, every single pitch clock, in between, somebody's catching and looking at the pitch clock. I'm just not looking at that stuff anymore. I'm just kind of, I guess it's just more in terms of accustomed to it already. I guess it was like a little bit weird, obviously, kind of for the start, but I'm really liking it. I'm liking it a lot more than I anticipated for sure.
I'll tell you what, I was so worried that, I don't know if you remember when the pitch clock was announced that they would bring it into the postseason. I was so worried about, and it could still happen.
Yeah,
where
knock on wood, right? Yeah,
somebody gets a third strike on them, or ball 4 walks in a winning run, or gets a strikeout, and that's how the World Series ends. I'm so fearful of that still. I don't want that to happen. But I think there was only one pitch clock violation. I think it was against it was an Astro pitcher, I believe. Maybe not Bobby Abreu, but I think it was
Brian Abreu.
Brian Abreu.
Yeah.
And he's got a tight slider,
Abreu.
by the way. He's going to be effective in the
he's
championship
gross.
series.
He's so good. Yeah.
I think, but I think that's the only one I saw out of all the games, and I'm hoping it stays that way. I think the veterans, remember at the in spring training, Manny Machado here, he got caught I think twice in spring training, twice in the regular season for strikeouts, by the way, and then I think eventually everyone that was a veteran got the handle of it. And then everybody from the minors, though, they already had it. So they already have it in their heads. Don't leave the freaking box. Stay in the box, or call for a time. What gets me, though, when they call for time and the first pitch hasn't even been thrown yet. That's what's funny to me. Whenever you might see that in the postseason still, but that's always funny to me. So I'm hesitant about the pitch clock, but I'm happy for it in the regular season. Now, I always remember the Yankees and Red Sox. They always had the long 4-hour battles, regular season or postseason.
Yeah.
I didn't care when I was younger. I kind of care now because of, bedtime and all that, especially if you're on the East Coast. The games are going into 1 a.m., midnight. When Poppy hit the home run in game, I think it was 4 of that ALCS in 04.
Yep.
It was 1 a.m. already. So it's good for people and it's good for ratings. I just don't want to cater to the casuals. I hate that crap.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I think that hopefully that with the pitch clock, and I think that a lot of people now with October too, there's a lot of just casuals that aren't true baseball fans that are really yeah, I'll watch now the postseason because there's just that added more juice. Especially your team's in it. I know that there's some people that, for example, Philly, right? Philly's been one of the hottest type of commodities right now in terms of sports. Eagles obviously are 5-0. The Phillies have been back-to-back years now in the NLCS. As a Boston fan myself, I can't really go and say I like Philly sports. I just can't. I don't like the Sixers. I don't like the Flyers. And the Eagles, we've obviously had our battles with. There's something there. But I will have to say that crowd, I'm not going to sit here and be that's not electric. That Philly crowd looks absolutely just I would go and I'm about 3 hours, I think, from Philly. I'm about 3 hours, obviously, without traffic. If you told me that you can get me a ticket to go down there and watch it, you're damn right I'm going to try to go watch because that crowd has been unbelievable. So I think just for casuals too, it just adds so much. And so, it should be really exciting. I'm really intrigued in terms of these matchups, for sure. And without further ado, let's get into these matchups. So, I just first of all want to congratulate the teams, or I guess you can say, and then there were 4. So, ALCS, NLCS, we got the Battle of Texas. And I believe, James, this is the first time ever that we've seen a championship series in baseball between these two teams.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, correct me if I'm wrong, but
no, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, because I think that they talked about that, a couple days ago. So, obviously, Isaiah being a so-called Ranger fan, I don't know, but congratulations. All right. But anyway, with that being said, though, I'm excited for this matchup, James. I think that there's going to be a lot of juice to this matchup. Two teams that are really playing really, really good baseball at the right time. You look at the Rangers, Adolis Garcia, Jonah Heim, Josh Jung, Leonel Tavares. They're Corey Seager, obviously, Marcus Semien. And it was really cool when they asked Corey Seager during the division series about just the Rangers, and he was just like, "This is what I signed up for, and this is essentially I paid all this money because this is a team that's been dying for a ring, and I'm doing my best to do it." And he's definitely deserved that money for sure. I mean, he is a star, so we'll see about the Rangers. I mean, Max Scherzer said today that he is planning to be ready for the LCS, and I know that there has been obviously some, interest in terms of how that will go. But if you were able to bring Max Scherzer back in any type of capacity, that's obviously a massive boost for them. But the thing about the Rangers, James, is Baltimore's a pretty good lineup, and I thought that the pitching for the Rangers did a very good job against that lineup. And now, to be fair, I felt like the Orioles were a little bit overmatched in a way, kind of at the end with a lot of their young guys. No, nothing to take away from them, but you're going against, the beasts. The Astros, you might hate them. I don't like them, but you can't obviously sit back and not deny in terms of they have now been to the ALCS for the 7th straight year. 7th. Look at it, that's like essentially like the Patriots in a way in terms of like the amount of championship, going either to the division games. And it's almost like the October Invitational for them now. And it's been crazy. But I think that the Rangers are going to be up for the challenge. I think just that in-state type of thing for the World Series just brings a lot of juice to there. You got Bruce Bochy, Dusty Baker, 2 older managers. So I think that obviously is a lot of fun. And so, obviously before we get to the NLCS, James, and when Isaiah comes on, we'll make our picks. But, what do you think of this overall series? I think that we're going to be in for a dandy. And I will say this, too, before I get to you. I'm very grateful that Game 1 is Sunday during the Giants and Bills game because I have no idea why they decided to put that game on Sunday Night Football. So
they didn't flex out of it.
Game.
Yeah, they
should, but,
They, I guess, were a week late to do it, I guess. But, man, personally, I don't hate the Astros. They beat the Dodgers, which I was fine with. And since the Angels are like nowhere near playoff contention every year, it just doesn't matter when they play them. I know they're going to lose eventually. So, I love the intrigue of this series because not only is it an interstate rivalry, the Astros took, I think, 9 out of the 13 games this year when they played each other, 9-4. There was a case where they went to each other's house and swept them. I believe in August, Texas went to Houston and swept them, and then Houston returned the favor in Texas, in Arlington. There was a little words between, I think, Simeon and Maldonado that kind of made it juicy. Too. So, and that's it. Yeah, I was trying to remember that because I think Simeon hit a grand slam.
Yep. It was a lot too little for them. That was like really when sorry to cut you off. That was when the Rangers like really in a hot streak at the time.
Yeah,
and they were in like first place, and people were like, "Oh, the Astros seem like they're done," and they've been really struggling to kind of start that half. And I'm just like, don't poke the bear. And look what happened. Right. The Astros, second half came back, but obviously, they're both in the championship, so it's obviously up for grabs now.
I think that was also the last time we saw Scherzer. He gave up 7 runs in that outing against Verlander, and we didn't really see him since. There was, the injury issue. So to get to your question about Scherzer, I would have him coming out of the bullpen. I don't know if I could trust him starting a game. I think it may be a good thing to have him kind of like Bumgarner in that 2014 World Series where you could just use him throughout the series after his starts, but you don't start Scherzer. Hopefully John Gray, I think, will be back. He can start a game. I see week 1 here, you got Jordan Montgomery against Justin Verlander. That's really good because Verlander and Montgomery have been lights out, so that's perfect. Because I think me and Isaiah yesterday was trying to figure out how the hell are the Rangers going to set up their rotation with the injuries they have, with the good arms they have. How are they going to do it? And how are they going to combat what the Astros have with Javier, with Valdez, with Urquidy, and I'm missing the other one. Valdez, Verlander, of course. Yep. So, this is, and I love that it's Bochy and Baker. You haven't really heard anything about analytics with them. That's what I love about it. It's just them. They have control of each clubhouse, there's no ifs and buts or doubts about it. They do have great GMs, right? But it seems like there's no interference between the front office and the manager. And you love that respect, there. That's something totally different, like here in San Diego. Melvin and Preller are beefing, because of the analytical side. And just makes you wonder if they brought back Bochy, what could have happened here or wherever. But this series, though, I hope it goes 7. I don't know. I know you want to wait on picks, but I hope it goes 7. I have to imagine the vets will, shine. But, man, I think it's going to come down to the bullpens of each team and how they're used. I know with Texas, they're really scrambling. If somehow they can avoid using Chapman in the 8th inning, like only in the 8th inning, don't use him. Use him in the 7th inning, that would be fine. But it seems like always in the 8th inning he has his issues. But they just keep putting out different relievers every game, it seems like, for Texas, and it's worked out though. But it's not sustainable. That might hurt him in the end. But I'm gonna go. I'm gonna wait for the picks, but it's gonna be a great Texas series, and it's something I think we all hope for. I didn't want to see the Twins or the Jays or the. I did want to see the Orioles, but I knew if they faced the Astros, they were going to get killed. And then the Rays were just too injured, too banged up, and then other stuff. So I think we have a perfect ALCS.
I'm sorry about that. I had myself muted. I think another thing about this two, James, and nothing to take obviously away from the Twins or the Jays or the Rays or any of these teams, but this is a in-state for the World Series. Like, I mean, you remember the Yankees, Red Sox, Phillies, Mets, just a lot of rivalry, right? And I feel like baseball needs that in a way where they can bring some of the fans, like kind of the casual fans, to kind of come back into watching baseball. And I think that it's just set to be a really, really fun matchup. So we have Isaiah Leon, obviously, joining us as usual. Isaiah, thanks for coming on as usual. Hope you're having a good Friday, Isaiah, and a good day and night. So how are you doing?
What's up, guys? Great to see you guys. Sorry I missed the beginning of the show. My bus driver, or the bus driver of the bus that I was taking, he for some reason stopped at Burger King and made me wait for 20 minutes. So I don't know what happened there. I was literally just sitting on the bus and I was like, what's going on? Why are we stopping? And then all of a sudden I see the bus driver leave, and I was just so confused. And then I was waiting for 20 minutes. I thought that the bus had broken down or something. And then he comes back 20 minutes later with a bag in his hand, Burger King, burgers, French fries, chicken nuggets, you name it. And I was just really? You had to get dinner? And I'm having to wait on the bus. So yeah, that was a very terrifying event right there. But it's great to see you guys. And man, we're in for a great, I heard you guys were talking about baseball. We're in for a great ALCS and NLCS, but more so the ALCS. I think this is going to be one of the most, one of the best postseason ALCSs we've seen in 10, 15 plus years.
Well, Isaiah, before we go more into it with you happen to know obviously what today is. It's Friday the 13th. So, it might have been something where it could have happened, Obviously, it's unfortunate in terms of the way it happened, but they don't call it Friday the 13th for nothing. So, maybe that was kind of meant to be. But obviously, you're glad you're doing well. So Isaiah, me and James are obviously talking about this American League Series first. We haven't gone into the National League Series, and of course, you're probably really excited for that. So before we get into our picks, Isaiah, what is your overall expectations for this series? And obviously we'll get into our picks in a little bit, but how far do you think that this series is going to go? Do you feel like that this is going to be a one-sided series, which I don't think it's going to happen. These two teams are very even. They're playing really well at the right times right now. So just what do you think?
I think this is going to be one of the best championship series in baseball in like the last 2 decades, because this is what we've been waiting for. You know, these two teams, like you mentioned, Ben, this is two very evenly matched teams, superstars on every side of the ball. You got two future Hall of Fame managers going at it. I mean, there's just nothing better than this series when it comes to the American League Championship Series as well as the National League Championship Series. I just think that, you know, you look at Yankees-Dodgers, a Yankees-Dodgers World Series, or Ohio State-Michigan in the national title, or 2012 49ers-Seahawks with Jim Harbaugh versus Pete Carroll, Colin Kaepernick versus Russell Wilson. This series is on the magnitude of that. Like, I think that we are in for such a great treat. That's why I'm so thankful that the NFL scheduled Bills versus Giants on Sunday Night Football, so I can just skip watching that altogether and just watch Astros Rangers, because this is just going to be a great series. You have, you know, superstars, future Hall of Fame managers, and plus you got bad blood between these two teams. Like the last time these two teams played each other, there was a brawl. There was a benches clearing brawl in which I believe Adolis Garcia hit a grand slam, and then the Astros didn't like it. That he took his time rounding the bases, and then the benches cleared. But there's bad blood between these two teams, and not only that, guys, it's what's happening off the field. The fan bases do not like each other, and I think, yeah, like I remember after the Rangers celebrated that they clinched the playoff spot for the first time since 2016. And then the following day, they lost that last game to the Mariners 1-0, and the Astros ended up clinching the division. Well, Astros beat writers and their fans were mocking the Rangers for celebrating, because they were like, why are you celebrating a playoff berth? It makes no sense. They were like just going back and forth. It was Astro fans versus Ranger fans, Astro writers versus Ranger writers. Like, it was just crazy. And I think this is going to be a all-out war. I think it's going to be a heavyweight fight. And, you know, I think we're in for a treat where this is going to go 7. And, I mean, I just can't wait. It's going to go 7, and it's going to be so evenly matched. And I think all the games that you're about to see, I think every game is about to be like, potentially, it's going to be like 5, or not 5, but it's like 7-5 or 7-6, or even, you know, potentially like 11-10 because of how potent these two offenses really are.
I mean, you know, like you mentioned, Isaiah, and I was talking to James before he came on, is, you know, playoffs obviously are great, but it's also the rivalry, like the juice. You know, you looked at Atlanta Braves and the Phillies. You know, obviously those two teams hate each other. Yankees, Red Sox. Obviously, it's not the same rivalry it once was, but back in the day when I was little, watching a lot of those games in the playoffs, I mean, that rivalry was absolutely incredible. You know, so I think that not only obviously it's going to be a great series, but I think that it's just going to be helping a lot of people go back and watching this series. They're not even big baseball fans, because I just think that two teams are very even, and I'm just really excited. I think that there's just a lot of bad blood, like you mentioned. So before we get into the American League Championship picks, let's get into the National League Series. Now, the Dodgers and the Braves. If you asked me before the playoffs started that both teams would not be in the championship series, I would have probably called you crazy. But this is why October baseball is nothing like it. It's like March Madness. It's very like, you can say, well, that team on paper should be there, but that's why you play the game, you know, because crazy things have happened. So, you know, the Diamondbacks-Dodgers series, it was all Diamondbacks. The Dodgers, Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, absolute no-shows. And you need your stars to be the reasons why you move on. And those stars weren't moving on, and deservedly not to. And they're pitching. Dave Roberts, who me and Isaiah were talking off the air about his job security, I think that's very up in the air. I really do. But to be fair, and I think James, you mentioned this maybe a couple days ago in Batter Up, that the Dodgers pitching wasn't that deep this year in terms of the playoffs, and you need to have that. And you look at the Diamondbacks, they had Gallen, they had Merrill Kelly, they had a lot better pitching, I thought personally, against this Dodgers team, and they showed it. So they're obviously deserving to move on, despite the fact that they're obviously not as talented, right? The Dodgers are a lot more talented, right? But they're the better team, executed better. Phillies Braves, man, what a series. You know, the Phillies obviously game 2 felt like they gave it away. They asked Nick Castellanos, like, how do you respond from this, right? Going back, you're like, well, the Braves obviously have a little of the juice, and Nick Castellanos said, we're not fighting back from anybody. And that's the killer instinct. And Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, that Philly team in the October, man, Red October, they kind of call it as, it's cheesy or whatever type of way you want to say it, but it's magic. It really is. They pretty much can go head to toe with really anybody. They got Nola, Wheeler. That back end bullpen is really good. Braves, obviously, their bats got really cold. They got really cold in division series. They had a lot of traffic. Even in this past game last night, right? Top of the 8th, bases loaded, Ronald Acuna up. I think a lot of Philly fans were nervous. That Kimbrel obviously was losing it. A lot of his command. And Acuna hit a ball to deep left center, and Rojas made a nice play. And then at the top of the 9th, a walk, a single by Murphy, first and third, nobody out. So like, oh boy. They took out Gregory Soto. They brought in Matt Strahm, Red Sox legend, by the way. So congrats to Strahm, who I think last year in our bullpen was like one of our high-end relievers. He wasn't that great, but crazy to think, congrats to him. But he got Pilar to pop out. He got a fly out by, I forgot who the next guy was. And then Von Grissom pinch hit and he struck out. So, they weren't able to capitalize, and the Phillies were. They had some timely hits, and, the Phillies obviously are moving on. So, the Phillies and Diamondbacks. Talk about a very interesting NLCS. But this should be this obviously should be really interesting. You have two teams that are playing like really good ball, like the other ALCS matchup. Corbin Carroll, Christian Walker, Ketel Marte, Tommy Pham. Just a lot of guys in that lineup. They're not big stars, but they have this Baltimore Oriole vibe from last year. A team that just kind of just goes and plays the game the right way. And I also have to give my flowers to Torey Lovello. I know that there's a lot of people that were calling for his head last year. Oh, he should be getting fired. I also remember our Batter Up preview. I don't know if it was you, Isaiah, but somebody else. We're looking at this Diamondbacks team in terms of the division, in terms of our series. We're just like, oh man, like this team doesn't seem like they're gonna be good at all. They have a horrible stretch to start April. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't look great. And now they're playing for a chance to go to the World Series. That's just how crazy baseball is. It really is crazy. Sometimes you just got to get hot, especially later on the season, and you get hot, and they definitely deserve to be there for sure. And Lovello was great. I think that back on the bullpen was really, really good. And Paul Sewald, I don't know what the Mariners were thinking, but he is massive because they really didn't have a set closer, and they got him for, I don't even know what the trade was, if anything. But the Mariners definitely lost on that one because Sewald is really good. And he's really helped a lot, for that back end. So it's going to be a really good series. That really is. The biggest thing about the Phillies is they got home field. If they were having to go to the Dodgers, or whoever else. I mean, but they got home field in front of their home fans, and obviously we'll get into my picks a little bit, but this is why I have them going to, the next step. So, let's go to our picks, guys. I will start with you, Isaiah. I first also want to congratulate you on your Phillies. I don't know about your Rangers because you kind of went hopped on a little bit after, but I will say congrats to your Rangers as well, I guess, if you want to. But really, the Phillies. I'm really happy for you in the Phillies because I know you like the Phillies for sure. And obviously, the Oakland A's, of course, they're just so obviously the Phillies obviously have you for sure. Last 2 years, being the Braves, man. I mean, that's no joke. I mean, this Braves team compared to last year's Braves team, they were so much better. And it's just like, and I was telling James this. I said, and we'll talk about this after our picks, is literally the Dodgers, the Orioles, the Rays, the Braves, all these top seeds bounce early. Is that long layoff an effect to them? So, but yeah, what do you think, Isaiah?
In terms of the NLCS, or do you want me to pick both?
Yeah, let's pick both at this point because obviously I got through the NLCS. Yeah, for those that are tuning in, we will get now into our picks. So go ahead, Isaiah.
All right, so for the NLCS, I'm gonna go with the Phillies. I think that if they played the Dodgers, I think it might have been a little bit more challenging. Although I kind of wanted the Dodgers just because I felt like James mentioned, with all the injuries to their pitching staff, that it was it made the Dodgers kind of vulnerable. But now with Arizona's the hot team right now. They are kind of like what Philly was last year, but Philly's got home field. Philly's bats against kind of like an inferior Arizona pitching staff who isn't really that deep at all outside of Gallen and Merrill Kelly. And then you have Corbin Carroll's a monster, but I mean that Phillies offense with Turner, Schwarber, Castellanos, Harper, Alec Boehm, who hasn't really done much this postseason. Brandon Marsh there, he hasn't really done much. Bryson Stott, he's kind of been that underrated piece for the Philadelphia Phillies. And then the bullpen, Dominguez, Soto, Kimbrel, Matt Strom, who finished the game yesterday, Jose Alvarado. They have a five-headed monster in that bullpen. So I just think Philadelphia is the more complete team, the more experienced team right now. When you are, at a level for the first time and the lights are shining bright, a lot of players fold. And I don't know if Arizona can handle the pressure of playing in Philadelphia, that raucous environment. I don't know if they'll be able to handle that. I know a lot of teams, whenever they come to Philly, they just will. And like the Braves, the Braves last year and this year, they have had to come to Philly and they've lost both games in Philly both years. So I think that I'm going to go with Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia takes the first couple of games in Philly. Arizona takes game 3. Philadelphia takes game 4 in a very close battle. And I think Philly takes back game 5 in Philadelphia to punch their ticket to the World Series. So I got the Phillies winning in 5 over Arizona. Watch out for Alec Boehm. He's done really well against the D-backs in his career. He hasn't had a great postseason thus far. I think he's only hitting like 199. I expect him to break out in the series because I expect the Diamondbacks pitchers to be very careful with Harper and Castellanos because Castellanos is red hot right now. So you're gonna see you're gonna see some unsung heroes, and I think Boehm is gonna be the one that breaks out and has a monster series for the Phillies. So I got Phillies in 5. For the ALCS, this is going to be the series to watch. Not saying don't watch the NLCS, but the ALCS is the primetime matchup in prime time, and I can't wait for it, man. Like I'm just so juiced up. Yeah, get your popcorn ready for that one. Like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait for that series. It's like Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao in their primes in this series. Like that's how great of a series this is going to be. 2 teams, star power on either side. Max Scherzer and John Gray are both coming back, which adds more intrigue and excitement into the series. Imagine Scherzer versus Verlander sometime later on, maybe a game 6 in this series, or potentially winner take all Game 7. You have Scherzer versus Verlander with a
For the World
spot
Series.
on the line in the World Series. I mean, you can't script it any better. I mean, that's how great this is going to be. But I'm going to go Rangers in 7. I think that Texas right now, they're red hot. They're swinging the bats extremely well. Houston is the same thing. They're swinging the bats extremely well. But I actually trust Ben and James. I actually trust the Rangers pitching staff, believe it or not, more than I do Houston. Because outside of Verlander and Valdez, Javier's been a lot shaky. Urquidy, he's kind of that X factor where, like, sometimes he has a great game, but sometimes it gets ugly. And so the Astros pitching staff just doesn't have a lot of depth. And the Rangers just remind me of the 2019 Washington Nationals, where they don't have a great bullpen. But you know what they have? They have a great starting rotation, and they have a lot of arms who you can piggyback off of in that starting rotation with guys like, Scherzer. Well, you have Scherzer starting, and then you can throw in John Gray. You could throw in Andrew Heaney. You could throw in Martin Perez, who has been very, very good out of the bullpen. And then you can go to like a Aroldis Chapman. You can go to a Leclerc. You can go to a Josh Sborz. And here's a guy that we haven't really seen this postseason that I think that you're going to see a lot in this series, and I think this is going to be a guy that's going to be a really key factor for the Rangers pitching staff, and that is Chris Stratton. Chris Stratton is a guy who came over from the Cardinals. He had a 4.37 ERA. He was kind of like a throw-in piece for the Texas Rangers, and his ERA with the Rangers was like 2.34. Like, this guy found his stuff, reunited with Bruce Bochy. He found his stuff. He's pitched very well out of the bullpen. He can give you multiple innings. And I think if the Rangers just do the piggyback strategy where you have a starter come in, pitch a couple of innings, and then maybe Stratton for a couple, and then you could throw in like a Chapman, or you can throw in Sborz or someone like that, and then get to Leclerc, I think then the Rangers can, figure out a way to piece it together. I think they can be very successful. So, and I would have all my trust in Bruce Bochy when it comes to piecing together that bullpen. Whatever happens in the bullpen, I have all my trust in Boch, because I know Bruce Bochy well from his days with the Giants, and this dude is a magician when it comes to the postseason and when it comes to working the bullpens in the postseason. So I'm going to go Rangers in 7. I got Texas, their offense. I think they stay hot. I think Corey Seager has a monster series. I think that a guy that a lot of people should watch out for, that I think could be an unsung hero in this series, is Evan Carter, because the Astros have faced everybody on that Rangers lineup outside of Evan Carter. They have not faced Evan Carter once. And Ben, you know this. James, you know this. That when you face someone for the first time, the hitters always have the advantage because they have all the film on the opposing team's pitcher, but the opposing team's pitcher does not have any film on that hitter. So the hitter always has the advantage, and I think Carter's going to have a massive series for the Texas Rangers. Give me Texas in 7, and it's going to be such a great series. It's going to be a close series, and I got Texas in 7. I got Texas winning Game 7 by a final score of 4-3.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah, it's going to go to the distance. I mean, you just look at these two teams. I feel like maybe that the Phillies D-backs might be a little bit of a shorter series just based on the experience the Phillies have over the D-backs. But, I mean, heck, it should be really fun. I'll go to you, James. These two teams in the American League Championship Series, it's a heavyweight for a reason. National League Series, it's more of a young team that has come in really hot and a team that is, very experienced. So, what do you got here?
Okay, for the ALCS, I know I talked about it before Isaiah came on, of how it's an interstate rivalry, and finally we get to see them in the postseason, the grandest of stages. Going to go to the World Series. It's gonna sound cliche what I'm saying, but until anybody beats the Astros, I have to go with Houston in 7. But part of me wants Texas just to get in, because maybe what Isaiah is mentioning, the Astros are kind of missing some pieces. But like I mentioned before, both bullpens are pretty shaky. Offenses for both are going to be awesome. I think one thing that's going to hurt Houston maybe is their defense this year was kind of shaky. The errors were kind of up, so maybe you'll see that be a factor in the series to hurt them some way. But I'm gonna go with Houston. But man, it's gonna be electric. And again, we're very grateful that it's on Sunday night. For the NLCS, first of all, for the Diamondbacks to dethrone the Dodgers like that, they were the Diamondbacks are swept 3 straight in the divisional series in 2017, and it was great to see the Diamondbacks return the favor this year. Because I barely remembered that in 2017 that the Diamondbacks beat the, I think, Rockies in the wild card 1-game playoff, and then they got swept by LA. So that was great revenge. The crowd came out. I was happy about that. You did see some blue, but it wasn't as bad. So that was great seeing the Diamondback fans come back for their team after being away for a while. So that was great. Carson Kelly, it's funny because he's going to come back to Pennsylvania where he paid to see the Phillies growing up. So that's going to be interesting how he knows that crowd. And you guys mentioned the crowd. I think Ben did. Electric. It wins you games to the point if the Phillies didn't have home field advantage like they didn't in the divisional series, where, hey, if you take at least one on the road, you're not guaranteed to win both at home, but the crowd will be behind you to motivate you to win both of those games like it happened. If you're able to put runs up, hit your mag home runs and deep home runs like Castellanos and Harper did, that crowd is just going to go crazy. And that was amazing. That sea of red. That was really great to see. But man, they seem to have a chemistry right now. The starting pitching is awesome for the Phillies. One thing, back to Arizona real quick. Carroll, he's kind of like the igniter of that lineup. He gets them going. And then also in right field, Carroll's out there making great plays. Alec Thomas had so many clutch catches in the gaps in that Dodgers series. I mean, it could have been game changers, but instead he was able to run them down. I mean, it was pretty awesome to see that. So and Tommy Pham, he had a great first game, by the way. Yep. I think it was 9-0 after 2 innings in LA in game 1. The Diamondbacks are up. And that's when you start to think like, okay, maybe the Dodgers aren't as deep as we think. And remember, they lost, a couple, maybe 3 starters like the Rays did. Yep. I think I'd give Dave Roberts one more year just to say, hey, if you get Shohei Ohtani, hopefully not. But if they do, okay, then you have to win. You have to win the whole thing. And if you don't, then you push him out, and then you have to own the money, for him not to manage. What was it for? Oh yeah, in the American League with the Orioles, just they didn't have playoff experience, and it's a thing though. The sayings where it's like, okay, the best is yet to come. They weren't ready yet, but they're only going to get better. The Orioles, they're early. They're in their process. They're early. Like last year, they were early. Then they had more people come up like the Diamondbacks did, and they're early too. Because I think I had the Diamondbacks competing for a wild card, but not necessarily getting one. Excuse me, and I thought they would be in 3rd place. But I think bringing up Carroll, and then when they signed him to that deal before the season started, you knew he was going to be the centerpiece. I'm going to go with Philadelphia probably in 5 games. I just think eventually Philly's going to overpower them. They have home field, like you mentioned. And then getting back to that Seawald trade for Arizona, I remember they traded Kendall Graveman, I think, back to the Astros for some reason. So they like trading closers away to the Mariners. Well, the Mariners got Josh Rojas back, Dominic Cazone, and somebody named Ryan Bliss for Seawald. And you see Seawald's
Sweet.
awesome
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
Arizona. I didn't get that trade, and I didn't get the Graveman trade, I think, back in 21. That confused the hell out of everybody. And the same thing happened to the Mariners, where they petered out, and that was it. So, again, I'm going to go Philadelphia over Arizona in 5, and then opposite of Isaiah, Houston in 7. I'm going to definitely be watching both over anything that's going on, unless the Trojans are playing or something. But other from that, I'm watching both CSs.
All right. For me, like I pretty much mentioned already, the ALCS is going to be a heavyweight. Two teams that pretty much have that little bit of rivalry juice. Two teams that don't like each other. I look at it in terms of experience. The Astros have been there for the 7th straight year in the championship series, so they know what it takes. And obviously the Rangers are probably going to be, up for the challenge. I think it's going to be a pretty deep series. But at the end, I think it comes to the experience. And I think that the Astros have that. So with that being said, I have the Astros winning in 6. And in terms of the Phillies to D-backs series, man, because the D-backs, when I saw that Dodgers series, I'm like, oh, it's just a young team against kind of the better team on paper. But we've kind of seen in this playoffs that it's not always been the case, right? So, but with that being said, though, the Philly fans give me the New York Boston vibes in terms of a very ruckus environment. I don't think the D-backs know what they're coming in for. I mean, the Dodgers environment in terms of the playoffs, it's fine. It's decent. But the Philly environment, I mean, heck, it's ruckus to the max. And I've never even been there. And Isaiah, I was showing James too this. Like, as a Boston fan myself, like I can't really root for any of these Philly teams. There's nothing in me. The Eagles, the Flyers, obviously definitely not the Sixers. But if you told me, I mean, I live about 3 hours from Philly, that I got a ticket to go to the NLCS in Philadelphia, damn well I'm going to try to go to that. I mean, heck, like I was even looking just for kicks with my brother yesterday at tickets. They were going for like $500. I'm like, yeah, I would obviously, but it's just crazy there, and there might be a place on my bucket list next year to go to there in Oriole Park. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that this is going to probably go 5-6 games. I agree with you, James and Isaiah. I'm going to go Philly in 5. I think that the D-backs, I don't say that their magic kind of runs out, but I just think that you just look at the experience, and I just feel that the Phillies really want to see that team against Houston for that rematch of last year's World Series. And I think that's going to happen again. I really do. Before we get into the other stuff in baseball really quick, I do also want to get into, you guys said AL and NLCS MVP. So for the American League, my ALCS MVP is going to be Yordan Alvarez. I think that he is by far the most feared hitter in the postseason. And I told my friend off the air this yesterday that there's not many places that you can pitch this guy and get him out. There's just not. I mean, I mean, James obviously laughing. It's insane. I mean, the Red Sox had to face this guy in the playoffs for so many years. And I just had to kind of sit there at times and be like, man, like, there's nothing you can really do. I mean, you could pitch him inside, you could pitch him up and away, you could pitch him outside. And it gives you the big Poppy vibes, the David Ortiz vibes, in terms of just an intimidating type guy up there. And when he was out during the regular season a lot for the Astros, their lineup definitely isn't as, I mean, they're obviously fine, but like you put him in that middle, I mean, it's deep, it's scary good. And then you put a Michael Brantley, Jose Abreu's starting to rake too. So, I mean, good God. So I have Yordan Alvarez being my ALCS MVP. My NLCS MVP is going to be Trey Turner. I think that he is a really big reason why the Phillies really changed their season around. I know obviously kind of the slow start, but that current call, I'm not saying save their season, but Trey Turner, they paid a lot of money to. And I know people want to say Bryce Harper. By the way, I love Bryce Harper. I mean, who doesn't? But I think Trey Turner is going to have a massive series. He went 4 for 4 in the closing game yesterday, and he's just really raking right now. I mean, if you want to talk about Castellanos and Harper, but Trey Turner is raking. So I have Trey Turner win my NLCS MVP. So before we get into the other stuff baseball-wise, I wanted to obviously be curious to kind of see in terms of what you guys pick. I'll go to you, James. Who do you have for AL and NLCS MVP if you had to pick one?
I have the same Alvarez for the Houston Astros. Like everything you mentioned, that dude is amazing. He can instantly turn your ballpark quiet on the road just like that. Like just with one bat sound, one crack of the bat, he can kill your vibe if you're home. So those fans better be ready in Arlington in right field, all the way up the bleachers there. I guess second in place would be Corey Seager if they don't pitch him right. I mentioned this to Isaiah when Seager hit that one home run against Minnesota. They pitched him middle in, and you never do that to Seager. Even if it's low in the zone, he'll still golf it out. Like that's where he wants
it. Spot.
I'd never get why they don't pitch him outside. They sweep it by, around him, not go right to him with the pitches. Anyway, National League, I'm going to ride the hot hand of Nick Castellanos.
Like it.
I know everybody's going to be wanting to pitch around Harper and Turner, but you saw Nick kind of have a great last game, and I think maybe that momentum will keep going. It might show later on in the series, not at first, but yeah, I'm going Castellanos and Alvarez.
You also have to realize, guys, too, and Isaiah, obviously, the Phillies don't even have Rhys Hoskins in their lineup. Imagine if Rhys Hoskins, remember last year, he had one of the most iconic parts of the Phillies playoff run against Strider. He hit that home run, and the place absolutely just went ballistic. So, I mean, he's actually also a free agent this offseason, and I do plan that the Phillies will resign him, but that's another story for another day. Isaiah, who do you got for your AL and NLCS MVP?
So for my ALCS MVP, you know what? I got the Rangers winning this in 7. I'm going to go with kind of a unique choice, actually. He's been hearing the noise. He's been kind of, hearing the doubters. I'm going to go with Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer, when everything is against him, he just finds a way to shut everybody up and just flat out dominate. And this guy's a dog, man. Like, this guy, I don't know. Like, this guy is about to come back from a shoulder strain in which normal pitchers come back like within 2 months. This guy's going to come back in a month and come back and start for the Rangers. And not only start, but he's expected when he does start to throw about 75 to 80 pitches. Like, that's insane, dude. Like, that's absolutely insane. And I think that with Scherzer, I think the Rangers already have set their rotation where Montgomery is starting game 1. I think Evaldi's starting game 2. So if it's Montgomery and Evaldi games 1 and 2, which makes sense because if I'm the Rangers, I want a soft landing spot for Scherzer. I want him game 3 in Texas with the home crowd. I think that he's going to ride the home crowd to a lot of success. He's heard the noise about how, Father Time is defeating him. The Astros own him and this and that. I think he's going to quiet the crowd, and I think that he's going to have a dominant start against the Astros in his return. And then I think Game 7 is where he's going to shine. I think he's going to pull a Madison Bumgarner, and I really, not out of the bullpen, but I think that he's going to have that Herculean effort in Game 7 where you're just like, how did this guy come back from a major injury and not just come back, but just give you a lights-out performance in Game 7. And I think Scherzer's out to prove the world wrong in this series. So I got Max Scherzer in the ALCS MVP. And then the NLCS MVP, this is tough, but I'm going to go with Bryce Harper. I think that Bryce Harper, when the lights are on, he always comes through and he always shines bright. So give me Harper in the NLCS and then give me Scherzer in the ALCS. But also in the ALCS, don't sleep on Corey Seager because, and I mentioned this to James, I think on Batter Up. Corey Seager reminds me of Steph Curry. I mean, he's not the biggest in the world, he's not the strongest in the world, but he just dominates when the lights come on. And I looked up a stat, Seager against the Astros in his career. Corey Seager, fellas, against the Astros has a 312 career batting average against Houston with 24 hits, 5 home runs, and 12 RBIs and 11 runs scored against the Astros. So he loves playing against the Astros. And I think, ALCS, remember in the NLCS when Seager won that MVP in 2020, the Dodgers were down 3-1, and he took the bat and he put the Dodgers on his back and just dominated the rest of that ALC or the NLCS and also the World Series. So I would not be shocked if Seager puts up like a Michael Jordan, Steph Curry, Barry Bonds type of an effort in this ALCS and just puts the Rangers on his back.
All right. Quickly before we get into football, I didn't ask James about this, Isaiah, before you came on. In terms of, obviously, we kind of talked about some of these teams that got bounced early. And obviously, if you want to kind of say some stuff, by all means, that's fine. But the pitch clock, how do you feel about the pitch clock? Obviously, we kind of talked about it during the regular season in terms of kind of like would it affect the team. Obviously, not going in terms of hopefully it doesn't kind of the rest of the way, from the CS to the World Series. But I got to say, and I don't know if you're going to agree with me or disagree, but I like it. I like that this pitch clock, has been put in play, and I haven't really been affected by it. I think James was mentioning to me that there's like only 1 or 2 that kind of happened during the division series. So it's not like it's really been affected by that much as of right now. So I want to just get your overall thoughts. Have you been affected by it? Has kind of like your mood, I guess, in a way changed maybe from the start of the season? Just how do you feel about it?
Honestly, I'm kind of with you, Ben. I don't really notice it whenever I'm watching a playoff baseball game. And I don't want to slight the umpires, but a lot of them don't even call it, because I've noticed a lot of the times when the pitcher's not even set or when he hasn't, because isn't the pitcher supposed to throw the ball with 8 seconds on the clock, right? Isn't that how it works? Or
No. The batter has to be ready by 7 seconds and attentive to the pitcher.
Okay, so I've seen instances in the playoffs where the pitcher is not ready with 4 seconds left, and I'm like, are you even looking at the clock? Like a lot of the time they don't even call it. So I really do think that they have relaxed a lot of the rules this playoffs. I know the umpires know that, hey, if we call it, even though it might be the right call, but it's gonna be like last year's Super Bowl. If we call it, we will be under so much scrutiny because we made this call that could have altered the outcome of the series, and I just don't think any of them want to be under that type of scrutiny. So I've not really noticed it because I just feel like a lot of them are just not really the umpires just don't really care a lot about it, to be honest. And it has moved the game. It's sped up the game a lot. I'll give Rob Manfred a lot of credit for that. But in terms of the pitch clock overall, I honestly just haven't really noticed it. And the games I feel have kind of been the same though, in terms of postseason baseball with it being implemented.
Sorry, I was muted. I 100% agree, and hopefully it doesn't get impacted, the rest of the way of the playoffs. So it should be a lot of fun. I can't wait for this weekend. We'll talk more about it next show. I might have a show possibly after game 1 of the ALCS. So obviously, keep tabs on that. I'll let you guys know about that. So, but with that being said, guys, let's transit over to football. The NFL week 5 has ended. We're now focused onto week 6. And Isaiah, I do want to thank you and James for doing Extra Point yesterday. I got a chance to watch a little bit before I passed out on my bed. But that being said, though, I know that I believe last show I got through like a lot of the week 5 with you guys, and you kind of went already through it. So with that being said, I mean, we really don't have to spend a lot of time with this. So with that being said, let's go to our winners and losers. And then we'll do our game picks for week 6. And I told Isaiah, I told James this, like, how fast this season's been going. I mean, when you kind of get to October, baseball's kind of starting to die down a little bit. You got basketball coming up. It's crazy. I mean, argue with the wall, but I mean, I'm a little biased in terms of March being my favorite sports month because it's my birthday month. But October by far is the other best sports month, and it's not even close. So, yeah. But with that being said, though, guys, I'll really go quickly into the final scores. Obviously, I won't get to any of the reactions because we kind of already done that. So week 5, quickly, Saints over the Pats, 34-0. Bears over the Commanders, 40-20. Jags over the Bills, 25-20. Falcons over the Texans, 21-19. Lions over the Panthers, 42-21. All right, 24, sorry. Colts over the Titans, 23-16. Dolphins over the Giants, 31-16. Steelers over the Ravens, 17-10. Eagles over the Rams, 23-14. Bengals over the Cardinals, 34-20. Jets over the Broncos, 31-21. The Chiefs over the Vikings, 27-20. Niners over the Cowboys, 42-10. Raiders over the Packers, 17-13. And then there were the first week of buys on the team: Browns, Chargers, Seahawks, and Buccaneers. So that was quickly in terms of the finals from week 5. Winners and losers, guys. So losers obviously are the Patriots. I mean, that's pretty much a thing. I heard you guys yesterday, and 100% agree with a lot of your points in terms of the Pats. I mean, it's bad. They're actually talking about, Bill Belichick was saying today that Malik Cunningham might get the chance to get some game reps this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
He's obviously a backup quarterback, but they might kind of put him at like receiver to maybe like give him like a Juju Smith-Schuster and Demario Douglas are out for this weekend in terms of receivers. So they might have Kayshon Boutte play a little bit of receiver, Kendrick Bourne. Tyquan Thornton, I think, is questionable, and he just came back from the PUP list. So, I mean, they're obviously very shorthanded. I mean, their injury report, I saw today, I said James, after I played a little bit of golf at the range, I mean, it's bad. It's really, really bad. So, yeah, the Pats are obviously one of my losers. You know what? Man, Broncos. I mean, the Broncos are obviously a little bit like a loser now and yesterday because that Russell Wilson contract is getting worse and worse by the day. I mean, this guy's – I don't know what happened to him. I really don't. I mean, I thought with – their offensive line isn't great either. But they brought Sean Payton in. I thought that things were going to get a lot better for sure. And they're 1-5. They're the same record as the Pats. I thought that the Broncos at least would be respectable this year. They had Judy, Sutton, a bunch of guys who we'll talk about after our picks. But that's bad. Their defense is historically bad because their offense. I was seeing Russell Wilson's stats before yesterday's game against the Chiefs, and he was doing all right in terms of his overall play. But it's either that the offense is great and the defense is bad, or it's the other way around. So they're just not a complete team. Dallas obviously got blown out. They didn't put up a fight. You hear CeeDee Lamb talking about his lack of targets this week. So, but also the Niners are pretty much, their levels up on a lot of teams. I was hearing something actually out of work yesterday that in terms of per drive, I think that the Niners are scoring like double to triple the amount of like everybody else. It's crazy. Like they're at least scoring like every drive at least a field goal or a touchdown. It's been insane because they're scoring like 30 plus a game, right? So you're at least thinking, well, they're probably scoring at least something almost every single drive. Crazy. My winners, the Bears. They played Justin Fields and company. They played for a legend, so I have to give it to them. Man, the Steelers. The Steelers obviously against the Ravens, a really tough back and forth type of game. Ravens obviously playing pretty decent ball, but Lamar Jackson's obviously had his inconsistencies. And the Bengals. The Bengals really desperately needed this, and they really needed to see Joe Burrow get back to Joe Burrow type things. And it seems like Joe Burrow this week has gotten a little bit better in terms of his rehab from his calf. So that's that. So I'll get to you guys, your winners and losers from week 5, and then we'll get to our week 6 picks. I will start with you, James.
All right. Let's go. Yeah, definitely the Bears, I feel like, are winners. Doing it for Buckus, but I don't even know if any of the players know who that was, honestly. But they went out and did well. You know, they put up points the week before against the Broncos, but they didn't win. But this time they really showed it. So that was awesome by them. Jaguars, I want to say they took advantage of a Bills team that was not prepared. You know, they flew over on Friday to London, so they got a lucky break there, I guess. I want to also probably give a shout out to the Falcons for winning a close game. The Bengals for waking up again and kind of being themselves. The Jets for not giving in. That was great. 49ers, I think, are obvious winners. They really showed what they can do. And I knew that game.
Winners like every week.
Yeah. I mean, but everybody was hyping up the Cowboys, which leads to my losers of the week. Or one loser. Okay, one loser definitely is the Dallas Cowboys. I don't care if they had Diggs or not. Everybody hyped them up. Like, oh, my God, this is going to be the game of the year. Yeah. And, you know, they're gonna keep it close, and we'll see what happens. It was even close. Like, I was finding other stuff to do. So I think the biggest winner would be the Bears. I would agree with you. And then the biggest loser would be the Cowboys.
And what about you, Isaiah? Your week 5's winners and losers.
Yeah, let's start with the winners. I got to start off, I don't want to be biased, but I got to do it because the Niners are right now, I mean, they look like the best team in the NFL, and not just the best team, but they look like the best team by miles over everybody else. I mean, they are looking like they're playing on a whole nother universe over everybody else, and it's just scary to think that Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, and all the playmakers that they have, every game it's like someone else is having a great game and then one person is quiet. Like, imagine if all 4 guys, all 4 of their stars all break out in the same game. I mean, it would be absolutely insane. Like, George Kittle had a great game on Sunday Night Football. He had 3 touchdowns, and we were waiting for him for a long time to break out, and he finally did. But Deebo and Ayuk were kind of quiet in this game. So, I mean, it's just scary to think that, man, this team is playing so well right now. They're averaging 30 points plus on offense. They have the 4th best defense right now in the NFL, and they still haven't even come close to scratching their ceiling yet. I mean, they could potentially be averaging 40 points a game on offense with how Brock Purdy is playing. So the Niners are definitely one of my biggest winners. They sent a loud and clear message to the NFL that they're the best team, and they're by far the best team in the NFL, and it's undebatable. And I expect them to beat the Cowboys, but I really didn't expect them to win by 32 points. I mean, I think was the whole shocking point of that entire Sunday Night Football game. So the Niners, one of my big winners. Jaguars, they definitely needed that game badly because they needed to show that, hey, yeah, we have struggled a little bit, but we are still capable of hanging tough and being up there with some of the elite in the AFC. So they obviously did that on Sunday. My other big winners, I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints. They were struggling coming into that game. Their offense did not look that great. Derek Carr did not look that great. And I know it was against the Patriots. I know the Patriots haven't been good this entire season, But that was a great showing by both offense, defense, and special teams by the New Orleans Saints. And you look at that NFC South division. I mean, it's very, very winnable with the Buccaneers there, the Saints there, the Falcons. Those teams, none of those teams have really separated themselves. And I think that with the Saints, if they can put that type of effort that they did on Sunday moving forward, I think the New Orleans Saints, I really think that they can run away with this division because the Saints show that, hey, we got that quarterback, Derek Carr, one of the best quarterback in the NFC South. We have great playmakers with Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, Alvin Kamara. If they can put that effort like they did on Sunday, I mean, they would be scary good moving forward in the NFC South and the NFC. And then I would say my last winner, the Raiders, James's Raiders, they look like a playoff team. That win over the Packers was super impressive. I know James is saying that's mid, but if you look at the Raiders' schedule now, they are now what, 2-3. They have the Patriots this weekend, which it looks like it's a win, but knowing the Raiders, I don't know, because the Raiders, whenever they are supposed to win a game, they always lose, and when they are supposed to lose, they always win. So I don't know what Raider team will show up, but if this is a Raider team that I think is the Raider team that I know, they show up, I think they'll be able to get it done against the Patriots, and then they play the Bears after that. So they could easily be 4-3 going into Kansas City, and that's going to be a really, really good game moving forward with both teams over 500. So great season-saving win by the Raiders, and the Raiders look like they figured it out on defense with Max Crosby. Offensively, they're still figuring it out a little bit, but that team's got a lot of talent on offense, so I trust that they'll figure it out.
Sorry, I was on mute again. Do you get your losers, Isaiah?
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. So
No,
for my losers for Week 5 of the NFL, Ben, I gotta agree with you. I'm gonna go with the Patriots. I watched that Patriots game from start to finish. I was absolutely horrified by that game. I don't know if I texted you during that game, but I mean, I could not believe what I was seeing. I mean, the New England Patriots, who are known to have a good defense, made that Saints offense, which was struggling mightily coming into the game, they made that Saints offense look like the NFC team in the Pro Bowl. I mean, that's how bad it was. The Saints were just going up and down the field. The Patriots couldn't stop them whatsoever. And to make matters worse, their offense couldn't do anything. So it was like the offense was just going 3 and out or throwing interceptions, and then the defense couldn't stop anybody. And this game was over by halftime. So the Patriots, they got a lot of question marks. And this game against the Raiders, it's an absolute must win, because if you lose this game against the Raiders, I know it's in Vegas, but if you lose this game against the Raiders, you got the Dolphins and the Bills coming up. And if you're not going to beat those teams. So like, if you lose this game, you will be 1-7, and there's going to be if you think there's a lot of question marks about Bill Belichick's future and Mac Jones's future and what Robert Kraft is thinking and all that stuff, wait till you start 1-7. You're going to have to do something. And I don't know what you're going to have to do if you're the Patriots, but you're going to have to make changes. You're going to have to make massive changes if you're 1-7. And we might be talking about the Patriots at that point in a couple of weeks. We might be talking about New England as a massive seller at the trade deadline. And we might be talking about, could Bill Belichick potentially be let go mid-season? Like, the Patriots might force him into what LSU did with Ed Orgeron, which is, we'll let you finish out the season, but this is your last season in New England, because when you're 1-7, like, you have to do something. You can't just be like, oh, we'll just run it back. We're just going to run it back and try to hope for different results. That's never going to fly. And then I would say, my other biggest loser is, Ben, I got to agree with you, and I'm so disgusted with myself for making this pick, but the Denver Broncos. Like, I cannot believe I picked them to win the AFC West. I think even before the season started, we did our preview show. I think I even picked them to go to the AFC Championship. So that prediction looks even worse by the day. And if you look at my 3 teams that I picked to go,
You have the
come
winning
out of
division. I knew that. Yeah.
Jaguars, Jets, Broncos. The Jets and the Broncos. I'm literally relying on Zach Wilson and a corpse of Russell Wilson to come through on my prediction to save my season. It definitely doesn't look good for sure.
Steven, welcome. To get in with Kruse. Glad to have you on, my friend. It's been a while. Obviously we haven't talked in a hot minute, so hope you're doing well. And obviously you're kind of coming on during our NFL segment, so of course there's probably a lot that you want to kind of chime in for. But yeah, glad to have you on, my friend.
Yeah, great to be on, Ben. It's a pleasure to be next to a fellow Raider fan here, James Gonzalez. As I explained to my friends, Raiders are a second team I picked up in Vegas last year when I witnessed the Vegas Miracle. It was a crazy week, Ben. I mean, earlier in the week you had the Minneapolis comeback, not quite the miracle because you had that one with Stephon Diggs. We came back from 33-0. And then later during the week you had the Raiders picking up that lateral, bodying Mac Jones. Sorry about that, bud. Chandler Jones all the way into the end zone and celebrating with the whole crowd. And it was on all the casino TV screens for everybody to see. People were excited all over the streets, coming back from the Raider game throughout the evening and day, and just excited about that team. So I would say, first of all, to Isaiah's point, I think that the Raiders are going to be another notch against the Patriots on their way to a potential 1-7 start. They are a 3-point favorite in Las Vegas. We know that the Patriots will be out for blood. They will be out for revenge. But I think the Raiders are the better team. They have the better weapons. They have at least an equivalent quarterback in Jimmy G, if not better. So I expect the Raiders to win the game by about, 4 to 7 points. It's not going to be pretty. They never make things easy. They're like the Vikings. They always have to make everything a one-possession game. In fact, those two teams are very constructed very similarly. Then I would say about the Denver Broncos, Isaiah, you picked them to win the AFC West every single year, man. So I'm not surprised. You probably picked them to win the AFC West when Trevor Siemian was the guy.
Oh, okay. I mean, to be fair, you thought about it. I think it was kind of going this gut. You bring in a Hall of Fame coach in Sean Payton. You were thinking maybe you could kind of revive him, but maybe you didn't see the other side because, to be fair, Russell Wilson's had a pretty decent year this year. It's been more of their defense. Their defense if their defense was their defense, I thought played decent last night, but if that was consistent during the season, I feel like maybe you could have a different story this year. But it's just so inconsistent with that team that, I thought they were really hanging in with the Chiefs. And I'm not really been impressed with terms of the Chiefs all year this year. I think obviously they've had their moments and they can kind of win these close games. Yeah, they're obviously more of a selling team right now. So, all right, guys, let's get to our NFL Week 6 picks. And now with Steven here, we're gonna have kind of a little fun 4 square type of round table here with our picks. So, that being said, we'll first start with the Ravens and the Titans. The Ravens obviously are coming off of a tough loss against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Tennessee Titans are coming off of a loss to the Colts. So this is in London. I believe the Titans got there like a day earlier. They're kind of like the Bills last week. They kind of got there a little bit earlier. But with that being said, I'm going to go with the Ravens. The Ravens are a 4.5 favorite. I think that they cover that for sure, Steven. And so with that being said, though, Derrick Henry, the thing about the Titans is Derrick Henry against the Ravens is pretty well in his career, but it's not going to matter. I'm not a big fan of Ryan Tannehill at all. And I think that running game and just Lamar Jackson's going to be able to bounce back after their tough loss last week. So I'll go to Isaiah first. We'll kind of go from right to James to the end here, and then we'll kind of do differently after this one here. Who do you have, Isaiah?
I'm gonna go with the Ravens. I think this is easy. The Titans have not been impressive all season long. Their passing game has been putrid. Their rushing attack has been getting shut down by the opposing team because the opposing team knows if you shut down the running game, you make Ryan Tannehill beat you. He won't beat you, and he will turn the football over a lot in that game. So the Ravens, they have a great pass rush. They're going to shut down the rushing attack. They're going to get after Tannehill, and it's just not going to be pretty. And I just don't think this is going to be really much of a game in London. I think, honestly, a lot of the fans in London, a lot of the British fans that are going to be watching, I really think that, during halftime or halfway through the game, I think you're going to see the stands just empty, and I think you're going to see a lot of them just being out at the concession stands getting their fish and chips rather than watch that garbage out there on the field. And let me also say one thing like this also. I heard that King Charles potentially could go to this game. If I'm King Charles, I'm skipping. If I were advising King Charles, I would advise him to skip this game and go watch like a cricket match or whatever. Because if you want an introduction to football and you're watching that garbage, that is not going to be a good reflection. So give me the Ravens. It's going to be an awful game. I think it's going to be – I got the Ravens winning 20-3, and I really just don't think the Titans are going to put much of a fight out there in London.
I'll be fortunate enough to be at work, and there's not many times during sports season that I'd be like, yeah, I'm glad enough to be at work. And this will be one of the times that I'll be at work and not watching this game. So, Steven, I'll go to you. Who do you have winning this game?
I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. They're favored by about 4.5 points in this game, and this game right here really is going to be a potential turning point or a chasm in the season because you had a commanding lead with how the game flow was going against Pittsburgh. I know you're only up like 10-0 or 10-3, but with how Kenny Pickett in the offense was struggling and Najee Harris and company, you had that game on lock, and then you gave it away. Like, it's just inexcusable the way that Lamar has played in late game situations throughout the past couple of years in the NFL. You throw an interception with the potential to go up, I believe, 13-10, and you come up with 0 points. Then when you're driving at the end of the game, you throw an interception, or I believe you fumbled the ball, didn't see the pressure. Okay, it happens. It happens to the best of quarterbacks. It happens to the Brady's, Cousins, and Curtis Painters, all sorts of quarterbacks in the league, the good ones, the bad ones, the average to above average quarterbacks. But just to have so many turnovers in the final minutes, there's something wrong with the Baltimore Ravens offense right now. And really there's something wrong with almost all of the AFC teams' offense, including the Kansas City Chiefs. These quarterbacks just aren't consistent right now. I remember one time I watched a game where Lamar Jackson in the final 5 minutes of the NFL game, and I know fantasy is not the end-all be-all of everything, but James Ben, he lost 4 points in the final 5 minutes of the game net, meaning if you added the points he gained minus the points that he lost, he had a net negative of 4 points that he lost in the final 5 minutes of the game, and that was back in 2022. So it's just been a common theme for Lamar now. Now, I'm going to go with the Ravens to win by a field goal, to win by 3, only because I think that this is just a must-win game. I understand if you lose, you're not 1-5. You're not 2-4 by any stretch of the imagination. But it's just about the psyche of the team. How many close losses can you keep sustaining? At some point, the teammates, the coaching staff, everyone's going to get sick and tired of losing at the last moment when you have command of the league. Now, the Titans have had the history of upsetting the Ravens before. As we recall, they emphatically knocked out the 15-1 Ravens back in the 2019-20 season until the Ravens revenged it the very next postseason. So they're going to play this game tight. And that's why I got the Titans to cover this game. I don't think the Ravens are really capable of winning this game by a touchdown or more, because even if they go into the fourth quarter up by 14 points, up by 10, heck, even if they go up by 17 entering the fourth, James, we all know Lamar is going to have a couple of fumbles here and there to kind of average out the late game situation. And then they'll play some heroics defensively and offensively to pull the game away by 3 or 4 points. So give me the Ravens by field goal.
What about you, James? Who do you have for the Ravens Titans?
All right, I think everybody explained how the Ravens should win this game. The thing I'm looking at is the Ravens spending the entire week in London, the Titans, just getting there. And then also Von Miller came on the McAfee show, I think yesterday, or maybe it was today. I think it was yesterday, saying that the turf there was really bad to have footing on. And Odell Beckham Jr., of course, has had issues with turf, and he's one to say about it. So I hope that's not a factor in this game, but we'll see if that hurts anybody big in this game. I hope not, but that could be a factor. But I think the Ravens, they bounce back here. The Titans, you can't really trust them. I know the fans there, they'll probably go for the Titans more than the Ravens. But it's a game, I'm not going to wake up for, at least not for the first half. I'm not going to be really interested in. So I think the Ravens bounce back. They probably win by like 5. And I want to say Lamar Jackson airs it out more without a good running game. It's just Jackson basically, but I want to see him air it out more. I want to see Zay Jones get the ball more and Odell gets the ball more. That'd be really good to see.
All right, now James, I'll go to you, and we're going to go backwards for this game. So the Commanders are taking on the Falcons. Commanders are 2-3. The Falcons are 3-2. Now Desmond Ritter's had his inconsistencies, but he's been very, very good at home. So obviously, whatever you want to take into account for that. The Commanders are coming off a 20-point loss against the Bears. The Falcons are coming off of a win against the Texans. Who do you got in this one?
I can't really trust Washington. I don't know what it is, but they had a fun first 2 weeks, and then I think reality hit them. Everything was fun at first, but then they lost to the Bears pretty bad. I know they gave the Eagles a game, but they always do. But I think this is the week where I think everything happens for the Falcons. Cordell Patterson will come back, and then Bijan Robinson does everything. I want to see Drake London get the ball more. Kyle Pitts had a coming out game. Desmond Ridder played better. Arthur Smith is leading them well. The defense is getting timely stops, and I think it continues. I'm going to say the Falcons win maybe by a touchdown or 6 points over Washington on Sunday.
What about you, Steven? Who do you have in this one?
Yeah, so what I talked about with the Ravens earlier, whatever kind of momentum the Ravens don't have from blowing these close games recently, the Falcons have a lot of it. For now, they have found their guy in Ridder. I don't know if he's going to be, the next 5 years kind of franchise quarterback for them. It's possible that eventually they will have to develop another guy through the draft, but he has won over that coaching staff and locker room for the time being. I mean, the way that he was able to come back last game against C.J. Stroud, down by about a field goal late, and then again when Stroud led the potential game-winning drive to go up by a point, to be able to have the moxie to drive down into the red zone to get an easy chip shot field goal for Younghoe Koo, Asian Americans represent. I just think that they're coming in with all the momentum. They're going to be playing in front of another raucous home crowd as they did last week. And I think the one wild card in this game, guys, is that a lot of times in the NFL, when you win these close games, it can go one of two ways. Most of the time, you gain a lot of momentum and you're able to carry that into the next week forward against the Commanders, not the Redskins, Isaiah. But sometimes, and we've seen it happen before, right? Like in college football with Ohio State, whenever they beat Penn State close, they've been upset by teams like Iowa and Purdue. We've seen it in the NFL when the Vikings had that 33-0 comeback against the Colts. They came back, it was the comeback, the 17-point comeback against the Bills in Western New York, in Buffalo. They were able to win in overtime by 3 points off of a big interception. They came back the next week in their home stadium in Minneapolis, raucous crowd, and they got beat down by the Cowboys 40-3. I mean, they put up 3 points on their first drive, poorly executed drop by Hawkinson, and then the rest of the game, no points. It was 40-3, 37-point mollywop. So the thing about the Falcons here is I'm going to take them to beat the Commanders by about 10 points here, but they got to be careful not to carry that momentum in and get too confident and complacent, or it could be a blowout the other way.
And Isaiah, who do you have in Commanders and Falcons?
I'm gonna go with the Commanders. I don't think we see a lot of defense in this game. Both of these two defenses are kind of mid. The Commanders defense, I don't know what it's about them. I think it's their defensive coordinator, Jack Del Rio. I don't think he knows how to coach defense because you have all these great pass rushers, Sweat, Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, to name a few, and you still have one of the worst defenses in the NFL. It makes no sense whatsoever. They should be up there with the Niners and Browns in terms of having great defenses. And I think, and I told James this yesterday, I would not be shocked if Jack Del Rio got let go at the end of the season, and he ended up as USC's defensive coordinator to coach their defense. So I think for Washington, I'm going to go with the Commanders. I think their offense is a little bit better than the Falcons. But I think this is going to be a really good game. I think we're in for a really high-scoring game. Ritter, Sam Howell, two mid-quarterbacks, but two quarterbacks that can get it done. The run game with Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson, and Bijan Robinson on the other end. And then I think what's really going to get the Commanders out in front is the passing game. I think their passing game is a lot better than the Falcons' passing game. And when the Falcons get down by a touchdown or 10 points late in the game, that's what's going to kill them late in that game.
And for me, I have the Commanders as well. I think that they respond after that 20-point loss last week. Desmond Ritter is very inconsistent. And now, obviously, his track record has shown that he is a very good quarterback at home, back-to-back home games. But I'm going to go with the Commanders here. I think that it's going to be back and forth. Two very average-type teams, but I'm going to go with the Commanders here. All right, Steven, I'll go to you because it's your team, the Vikings. They're 1-4. They're playing against, and I say, obviously, my team is the same record, so they're playing against the Bears. They're 1-4. Justin Jefferson, obviously, and I hope that he's okay. Steven, I think he's the best receiver in football. It sucks.
Absolutely.
And obviously, if hopefully things, for him get better. And hopefully he stays with you guys because I know that there's been the chatter if, he might leave and stuff like that. I doubt it. I think that they're going to pay whatever because he's the best receiver in the game. But it's the NFC North division round game. Justin Fields has played a lot better in the last 2 weeks. He's actually tied in second or third for touchdown passes. And he's played really well in the last couple weeks here. The Vikings, obviously, their record is 1-4, but they went head-to-toe last week with one of the best teams in football in the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think it's going to be a close game. The line right now is Vikings are at -3. I do have the Bears winning this game, and I'll talk a little bit after at the end here. But who do you have in this one to win?
So, Ben, Isaiah, we got two 1-4 teams whose strength seems to be more on the offensive and specifically the passing side of the football rather than the defensive side. Now, defensively, they have been serviceable at times during the season. They've shown sparks. We've seen what guys like Danielle Hunter and the players on the Bears can do from time to time. But overall, these two teams, I had high hopes for both of them entering the season. I think a lot of people picked the Bears. They're coming into the season from different scopes. I expected the Vikings to kind of have a down year. I didn't think that they would go 13-4 or better again this year. I had them at about 10-7, losing about 3 wins. And so far into this season, they're already 3 games behind the pacing that they were at last season when they were 4-1. And the Bears was one of the teams that I actually, to credit Isaiah a little bit, I also made a blunder in my divisional pick. I picked the Bears to win the NFC North, and they're right about the same amount behind in that prediction as the Broncos. So something's got to give here, right? You got the Vikings, who I predicted would at least make a playoff game and maybe win one. And then I have the Bears, who many picked, not just me, many picked them to finish worst to first in that division or worst to second. And now whoever wins this game gets to kind of continue their delusion that it's within reach. And I'll talk about that in a bit. So the Bears are going to be honoring Dick Butkus. It's going to be an outdoor environment. Not sure exactly what the weather is going to be like in Chicago. As you mentioned, DJ Moore, Justin Fields playing a lot better football now. Not to mention Khalil Herbert. So guys, write this down. Bold prediction. The Chicago Bears will upset the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday afternoon football in Soldier Field, outdoor stadium with Justin Fields and DJ Moore playing some of the best football of their careers. I'm going to take the Bears here to win in a relatively high-scoring affair, 29-23. I think you get another classic like Kirk Cousins moment where he keeps the team in the game, but when push comes to shove, that offensive line can't protect for him. He's not Mahomes or Josh Allen. He can't save and wreck the game on the level that those guys can. So I'm going to take the Bears to win 29-23. I think heading into this game, they are about an even team. They're honoring their legendary Hall of Famer. They're riding on momentum. And at this point, I think the Bears, honestly, this is a hot take. I think the Bears have more to lose in this game than the Vikings. Because if the Vikings lose, you have a core that's aging, and there may be one quarterback or one offensive lineman and a healthy Justin Jefferson away from just coming back next year and kind of repeating what they had last year. Whereas the Bears, if they lose this game, you just wonder, how many breaks can you get? Justin Fields continues to get better. Aaron Rodgers leaves the division. Kirk Cousins is not having any help. Justin Jefferson is out, and you still go 1-5. All hope is going to be lost on Soldier Field if they cannot win this game. So I think the stakes are actually higher for the Bears honoring Dick Butkus and all of that baggage that they have with Fields and how they need to capitalize on his coming prime now. And they got to win this game. So I got them winning it. It's going to be a close affair. And at this point, I think Justin Jefferson, Ben, best receiver in the NFL, he is going to get paid. But I got to say that they are not going to be rushing him back anytime soon after this 1-5 and potentially 1-7 start. Now, Isaiah did make two bold predictions. Patriots 1-7, Vikings 1-7. It's looking like that, parlay hating prediction might come true. But I'm just wondering, James and Ben, when Isaiah was mentioning 1-7, was he talking about the Patriots or Vikings, or was he talking about his fantasy team? Because his fantasy team's got to go on the road this week to play Amir Khan, the best damn team in the league. And I don't know, man. Once you go to a 1-5 start, good luck sneaking to the playoffs. I just wanted to add a little jab there at the end.
All right, James, I'll go to you next. Who do you have in this Bears and Vikings game?
I know the Bears are kind of banged up in the running game. I think Justin Fields will take care of that, though. The Vikings defense you can't really trust. I'm hoping other people get involved for the Bears offensively. Maybe the defense creates some turnovers. Who knows? But, man, the pressure is going to be on Cousins and Osborne and Hawkinson and Jordan Addison. I know he has an ankle injury. I don't know if he'll play or not. But I'm going to go with the Bears. I think they win by at least 6. It's going to be maybe a sloppy game. The conditions will probably be kind of wet, and that kind of favors the Bears because the Vikings play at home. So, inside. So, I think that will favor Chicago. The ceremony before the game is going to have a flyover for Dick Butkus. So, I think the Bears ride all that momentum of, last Thursday they've had more days off, of course, than Kansas City or than Minnesota when they play Kansas City. That's also going to help too. But I don't think they'll score as much as the last couple of games. But I think they squeak out a victory over Minnesota, no problem.
And what about you, Isaiah?
This is easy, guys. I'm gonna go with the Bears. I mean, the Vikings, they have looked like a terrible team all season long. They're not getting the lucky breaks that they got last season, and this is what the Vikings should have been last season. We all knew that they were frauds, and now you see what this team is. And I have serious question marks about, is Kevin O'Connell Is he going to come back, especially if Jim Harbaugh is available? Because I know Minnesota made a run at him a couple of years back. So that's going to be interesting. But the Vikings always play the Bears. They always play the Bears tough. The Bears, for some reason, their defense, they know how to shut down the Vikings offense. I don't know why that's the case, but that's the case. And thanks, James, for mentioning this. There could be some sloppy weather on Sunday, with the weather being 53 degrees and a chance of rain. So this could be like an all-out, defensive fast, defense, power running game type of a game. But give me the Bears. It's at Soldier Field. The Vikings are missing Jefferson. That's a big blow for them. They can't run the football this season. I don't know why that's the case, but give me the Bears to win this. I'm gonna go Bears like 16-13. I think it's gonna be closer than a lot of people expect, and it's gonna be a lot low scoring because of the weather.
Isaiah, I got to interrupt for a second, man. I don't think Jim Harbaugh is looking to go to the Vikings, Raiders, or Patriots or any of these NFL jobs. This is a guy who, heading into year 3 in a row, possibly, of beating Ohio State, he's going to have an opportunity once again to likely compete for the national title and kind of get that camel off his back. I think until he wins a national title at Michigan, or at least gets into that game, he's not going to be flirting with the NFL again. I truly believe that the spring of 2022, which is about a year and a half ago, was one of the last chances and last opportunities of Jim Harbaugh flirting with the NFL. I think the Vikings made a little bit of a minor mistake. I think that James's Raiders made a mistake by not hiring him. But unfortunately, that ship of hiring him has sailed for the next year or so, until this guy can, get to a national title game, potentially win it. Because his situation at Ohio State or at Michigan right now against Ohio State and those guys in the Big Ten, it's so secure. And he gets so much exposure coaching for the Michigan Wolverines that he's not going to rush back to the NFL anytime soon.
All right, and for my pick, I'm going to go with the Bears too. The Vikings are with Justin Jefferson. That's a massive deal breaker. The ceremony, just the two teams. I think the familiarity. It's a 1:00 game, and I think Justin Fields has just played really good football the last couple weeks. So I'm going to go with them. Before we get to the next game, we have a little bit of college football. The Colorado-Stanford game was a 29-0 game. It is now 29-26. Colorado has completely fallen apart in the second half. So obviously, it's getting a little hectic and a little worrisome. Obviously, if you're the Buffaloes, so obviously we'll keep tabs on it during the show. But that's obviously just kind of want to let you guys know about that if you guys weren't watching. So they're shooting themselves in the foot on this quarter. It's crazy, but we'll see what happens. Now, this is a game that's going to be really interesting. The Seattle Seahawks and the Cincinnati Bengals. And I'll obviously go first with this one. Now, the Seahawks obviously are coming off a bye. They obviously are playing on a 10 a.m. really game technically there because it's a 1:00 game there in Cincinnati. So, and Joe Burrow, I thought, looked probably the best he's looked all season last week. I think that they ride it out. Jamar Chase obviously says 7-Eleven, I'm always open. And he put an absolute clinic the last couple weeks here. I think that it continues against Devin Witherspoon, their corner from the Seahawks. And Seattle is just I like that their defense might be able to get to the offensive line because Cincy's very up and down with their offensive line. But I'm going to go with Cincy here. I really like that. I think that they're going to ride out that last week for sure. So I think that the Bengals are favored by 3. I think that the Cincy will probably win like a 27-17 type of game. And I think Joe Burrow has 2 to 3 touchdowns in this game. It's kind of similar to last week, maybe even a pick. But I'm going to go with the Bengals here. I will go to Isaiah.
Ben, I agree with you. I'm going to go with the Bengals. I don't trust the Seahawks defense. They don't have much push up the middle. They can't really stop the run. Their pass defense hasn't looked that great this season. The Giants should have scored more points if they could have blocked for Daniel Jones, but they didn't, and that's why the Giants didn't score that much. But that Seahawks defense is very leaky, especially their pass defense. Their offense is decent with Geno Smith and Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and DK Metcalf. But I just think with this Bengals offense, that high-powered offense, I think that they'll finally wake up. I think they'll break out of their shell that they've been hiding in all season long. And then their defense is very underrated. A lot of people don't know this, but the Bengals defense is actually one of the better defenses in the NFL this season, and I think that they're going to get a couple of takeaways. They are known to be a takeaway heavy defense. They pride themselves on getting a lot of takeaways, and I think that with Geno Smith, him having that tendency to turn the football over a lot, I think that is what's going to shoot the Seahawks in the foot all game long. So give me the Bengals. I'm going to go Bengals like 27 to I'm going to go 27 to 13.
Yeah. It'll be kind of like that, kind of around that, I'd say. James, who do you have in this one?
I agree with both of you. I think the Bengals win. Maybe they have found something there. They've now are going to face three of those NFC West teams. All they have left is the Niners in the future. But I think the Bengals are going to win, and Chase will have a fun matchup with Devon Witherspoon, the rookie. I know DK Metcalf was anticipating that matchup. Chase, mentioned he was open like 7-11, 24/7. So he caught 3 touchdowns last week. He'll probably have 2, unless Witherspoon, which has been awesome. He's been great. But whenever Burrow and Chase get together, it's a really good thing. I want the Seahawks defense to do better, but I just don't see it whenever the Bengals are clicking like they did last week. And I just think they're unstoppable. We've seen that before. I'm going to agree with both of you. I'm going to go with the Bengals winning.
All right. I will go to Steven. Who do you have in the Seahawks and Bengals game?
Yeah, I'm going to complete the sweep here on our prediction show. I'm going to go with the Bengals winning this one 27-21. I think it's probably going to be an afternoon in which Joe Burrow and the Bengals are up for most of the game, and they've got to watch for Geno Smith, who plays really well behind. He's one of those quarterbacks in the NFL that just finds a way to close out games on a high note. The way they've been able to bounce back and beat the Detroit Lions, and they've played excellent football since losing to the Rams. This is going to be another must-win game for the Bengals. You don't want to go to 2-4 after all of that momentum you gathered against the Cardinals. And it's going to be a hotly contested game towards the end. But I have faith in Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. They've been in the situation before where they had a slow season start. And I think overall they have a more potent offense that will execute more down the stretch. So they'll be able to close out the game.
Travis Hunter, second touchdown, gave the Buffaloes now a 35-26 game. So after he cut down to 3, Shedeur Sanders this drive just absolutely balled out. So that's the latest there.
He took a hit too.
Yeah, Shedeur Sanders, guys, is the real deal. He's the truth. I love watching this kid play. That's another story for another day. All right, Isaiah, I'll go to you first. The 49ers, arguably probably the best team in football. There's no doubt about it. I'm not a fan of them. I'm not myself. I like watching them play, but I'm not a fan of them. They're playing against the Browns. They're going to Cleveland, 1:00 game. Isaiah, have the Niners only had 2 1:00 games now? I felt like they've been usually on 4:00 or 8:00 a lot during the start of the season. Yes, they had 1 1:00 game. That was the first game of the season against the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
No Deshaun Watson. They have PJ Walker. God bless the Browns soul. This is not going to be even close. The line right now is at Niners at 9.5. They definitely could cover that. I think that should be a lot higher. Yeah. So I would say the Dolphins line against the Panthers is Dolphins are -14. I'd probably go with something more like that. But yeah, I'm gonna go here to you guys, Isaiah. Niners or Browns. This shouldn't be much of a discussion.
Ben, James, and Steven, all I gotta say is this. The race for 17-0 continues this week. The 49ers will go into Cleveland. I honestly think it's actually gonna be more of a low-scoring game because West Coast teams, whenever they travel east to play an early game, they always for some reason struggle early in the game and then they wake up. But so I can see the Niners kind of like sleepwalking going into this game. But like I said, with our winners and losers, the Niners just look like the favorite in the NFL. They look like they're heads and shoulders above everybody else right now in the NFL. Purdy's playing at an MVP level. McCaffrey is dominating on the ground. We haven't really seen Ayuk, Debo, and Kittle all have great games at the same time. So that's what makes their start even more scary is that they haven't even scratched the surface, and their defense is just dominating right now, all levels of it. So I'm going to go with the Niners, but I know PJ Walker is starting, but Jim Schwartz and the Browns, they have the number 1 ranked defense in the NFL. Jim Schwartz, Jim Schwartz, I read this stat. When he has coached against Kyle Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan's offense, Jim Schwartz has held Kyle Shanahan's offenses to an average of just 15.4 points per game. Like, he owns Kyle Shanahan. Like, I don't know what it is schematically that he's figured out, but he has owned Kyle Shanahan. I do think the Browns will be able to stop the Niners, but the reason why I think the Niners are going to still win is because without Deshaun Watson, PJ Walker, Steve Wilkes, our defensive coordinator knows them from his days in Carolina. I think the Niners defense will be able to get after them. They'll be able to get a couple of turnovers, and they're going to have a lot of great field position and a lot more possessions than the Cleveland Browns. And I think that they're going to win the game just because they're going to tire the Browns out, get more possessions, get better field position, and they're going to end up winning that game because of that. So give me the Niners winning. I'm going to go San Francisco like 21-3. I think that it's a lower scoring game because it's a battle of 2 great defenses. But in the end, Niners win because they just tire the Browns out. Browns can't do anything on offense.
I could see this game. The Niners feel like they've been having a different player go off every week. This is a Christian McCaffrey type of field game. I feel like the Browns defense is pretty good, I'd say, in the past. The run defense is very suspect. I think that the Niners, their offensive line is just going to be able to manhandle the defense for the Browns. All right, James, I'll go to you. Niners, Browns, like I told Isaiah, there shouldn't be much of a discussion at least. I mean, if you guys have something else, by all means, that's fine. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think 49ers win by at least by 17 points. Maybe the weather and the conditions will limit that, but this will be the first game action for Randy Gregory. Of course, he was traded over to the 49ers, but I don't know how much of an impact he'll have, but I think the 49ers will shine. Yeah, when you have PJ Tucker starting, no offense to him, but you don't have much of a chance in the game. I'd rather have seen Dorian Thompson-Robinson, but he's also banged up. The question with Deshaun Watson and his shoulder, how many weeks he's going to miss, maybe more than this. It just doesn't look like he's going to be able to go for a while. I know he was trying to get it ready a couple of weeks ago, but he couldn't go. And then the story about David Njoku, how he was burnt.
Yeah.
A couple of Fridays ago, he played that Week 4 game somehow with that burnt face, and then he had Week 5 off, and then now
you know even how that happened?
Yeah, I think he was trying to light a fire, and the lighter fluid probably just got his face. That's all crazy. I could think of. That's the rumor out there. But it's amazing that he actually played. I mean, he didn't do much in that game. He kind of ghost blocked whoever was in front of him. He couldn't really see. He's a basic decoy like he is always because he doesn't really get the ball or do much. He runs like these 2 or 3 yard outs, and basically that's it. I thought he was going to be a bigger part of the Browns offense, but he's never been, honestly. So, props to him, though. But he'll be out this week, and I think he deserves it. Out of everyone on the Browns, he deserves it.
He feels also, too, like a guy that might need to change the scenery because I think that there's a lot more upside there with David Njoku, and it might just be the overall fit. So we'll see. All right, Steven, I'll go to you. The Niners and the Browns. Who do you have?
I'm going to go with the Niners winning in this one. It's going to be a physical environment in Cleveland, likely tougher conditions during the fall in the Midwest. And as Isaiah mentioned, Jim Schwartz's defense has found ways to contain Shanahan's offense. So give me the Niners to win in a slightly down game. Yes, you heard it, down game, 28 to 19. I think they win and they cover the 8.5-point spread that's accumulated from Watson being out. I think that this is a game where you could see the Browns kind of take the bull by the horns and score first, go up like 3-0, 6-0 early, and then Christian McCaffrey just too much for the Browns and kind of stymies the Browns defense down the stretch and closes us out 28-19. Yeah, I was mentioning that Watson's going to be out on Isaiah, so I wouldn't say he was going to start. That's why the Niners are favored by 8.5. They're going to win in a slightly down game, 28-19. In a physical environment, they're going to wear him down with McCaffrey, and the Browns will probably come out a little bit on fire, going up early, but just not having the personnel to contain the lead for the entire game.
All right, our next one, another 1 o'clock game. The Carolina Panthers, who have not won a game yet, 0-5, play against the Miami Dolphins at 4-1. I was saying on my other show that these are two teams that are in essentially two different directions. One team, essentially a young quarterback. Obviously, a lot of question marks around that team right now. Frank Reich, I wonder in terms of what his security looks like, because I don't know how much of a contract he got with the Panthers, but it's not looking great right now with him. Miles Sanders is out for this game, so that's obviously massive for them. Chuba Hubbard will probably take the snaps for the Panthers, but it's not going to matter. The Dolphins have right now have a 2-score spread. I think that they're going to cover that. I'm going to go 31-17 Miami. Miami plays really well at home. Tua plays really well at home, so I'm going to go with the Dolphins. What about you, Isaiah?
I'm going to go with the Dolphins, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than everybody is anticipating. I think that the Panthers are going to be able to score points, a lot of points on that Dolphins defense, which hasn't been good this entire season. They've been giving up a lot of points, more points than what the opposing team always averages. So I do think Carolina's going to be able to score a lot, but I don't think they'll be able to stop the potent Dolphins offense. I think Tua has a big day. I do think that Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, they're going to go off. The Panthers just don't have they don't have any good corners. And I think that they're going to be in trouble because you're facing two great receivers. You don't have any great corners. So that's why it's just a recipe for disaster. So give me the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins win this game like 38 to, I'm going to go 38 to 31. I think it's a high scoring affair, but ultimately the Dolphins win it because they're just the more talented team.
And what about you, James? Who do you have in this game?
Yeah, this game won't be any fun at all for the Panthers. The only team that hasn't won the game, Miami's going to win this pretty handily, maybe by 21 points or more. I do want Bryce Hall to play better. I know he did get some stats later on in the game against Detroit last week, but I expect Miami, even without Achane, excuse me. I think Miami will still do well. Mozart will have a good game. Hill, Waddle, maybe Chase. You know what? I'm gonna think Chosen Anderson will probably have a touchdown catch in this game, and then he's gonna really give it to the Panthers sideline. I feel like he's gonna do something crazy. And I know, what was it? No, yeah. That was basically it. And then I know Claypool, I want to see if he comes in maybe late in the game. I want to see him if he has anything left. He has a golden opportunity here with Miami to act like he cares, act like he wants to play in the NFL. He has to do it now. It feels like this is his last chance with the Dolphins. So I'm interested in those two receivers once the game is in hand, how they come out and play. So I'm also wondering too with the Panthers if I don't know if they make some trades or not, but we'll see. Thielen if he balls out. But man, it's not going to be a fun game for Carolina.
And what about you, Steven?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with yet another sweep for the group. I'm gonna go with the Dolphins winning in a relatively high-scoring affair, 38-17. It's no secret that the teams that they have beaten have not exactly been the most impressive. They did have that win against the Chargers on the road in Week 1, and that was
Mm-hmm.
impressive. But other wins, it was Patriots on the road, Broncos at home, and then the Giants at home. So, they haven't exactly been world beaters out there. I think a lot of like their offense thriving and their team thriving overall has been a product of their schedule. Granted, they are blowing these teams out. So I think they continue that trend against a kind of blithering Panthers team right now that just can't block at all for Bryce Young. And if you really look at it, Raheem Mostert has proven that he can be the man even before A-Chain entered the league, and then even after like last week as the main back, he really carried the load. He scored a heck of a lot of points, fantasy points, got a lot of yards, just running through the mud defensively and offensively. So he's very tough, angry runner. And then Bryce Young right now, he has a lot of the same struggles that Justin Fields had as a rookie, and even now he tries to play too much hero ball, doesn't get rid of the ball quickly enough. He takes a lot of inopportune sacks and throws a lot of inopportune interceptions. You look at the game against the Vikings, and the turnovers just keep costing the team. So I think once again, the Panthers, they put up a valiant effort to try to cut into the lead and score points. But Bryce Young's mistakes and the team's deficiencies defensively do them in here, and they lose 38-17.
All right, the Colts, Anthony Richardson, less Colts, are going to be taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Colts are coming off of a win against the Tennessee Titans that came at a cost. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, the overseas Jaguars that love to play winning football there, are going back to the States to play in Jacksonville. Now, the Jaguars are 0-2 in Jacksonville so far this season. They lost against the Chiefs, and they lost against the Texans. But I do think that in this one it's going to be close. These teams are pretty close despite without Richardson. I'm going to go with the Jaguars here. I think that they played pretty well last week. Travis Etienne had a really good week as well too. And yeah, I think it's going to be like a 21-17 game. I think that the Jags are going to do enough, and their defense, I think, is going to do enough against Gardner Minshew. So I'll go to you first, Steven. Who do you have in this game, Jags or the Colts?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Jags to win this game 23-17. I'm looking at them being able to break their home losing streak here at 0-2. Trevor Lawrence and the Jags have been red hot in London, and they're going to be bringing that momentum home. And I would say that even though Anthony Richardson is out, that's not going to be the reason the Colts lose. I think Gardner Minshew has largely impressed during his time in the league. I'm surprised people don't give him more opportunities to kind of start and become that franchise guy, because he does have that Purdy element to him, being able to come back in games, being able to deliver under pressure. Entering the year, 45 TDs, 15 picks. Entering this game, obviously around the same TD interception ratio. He's looked impressive, but Trevor Lawrence, he's a transcendent player. ETN is going to be out there. Just too many weapons on offense for the Jags here, even a defensive showdown. I got the Jags ultimately pulling this one out 23-17. Their defense makes a play late to get the ball back for the kneel down.
All right, Isaiah, who do you got?
I'm going to let Trevor Lawrence take it away. There you go. I got the Jacksonville Jaguars to win this game. The Jaguars have owned the Colts in Jacksonville. I think James read a stat yesterday, which kind of sucked.
Oh, yeah.
The last time the Colts won in Jacksonville, it was during the Andrew Luck era. That's how
Holy
long
crap.
it's been. Like, it's been a long time since the Colts have won in Jacksonville. It continued. That drought continues this weekend. Gardner Minshew, here's the thing about him. He always has some really good games, and then he has that really, really bad stinker. And I think that this is the game that, with the Jags defense playing the way that they are right now, especially against the Buffalo Bills, this is going to be that stinker of a game. Give me the Jags to win this game. I think I'm going to go Jacksonville winning this game by at least 16 points.
And what about you, Steven?
Yeah, like I said, I think or James, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go with Jacksonville here. I know they'll be without Zay Jones, but Cam Robinson will be back on the offensive line to help out Lawrence, so that's going to be a really good thing for Jacksonville. I think ETN has a great day again. I mean, that dude showed up against the Bills, late in that game as well. I do want to see Calvin Ridley get the ball more. I have him as my comeback player of the year, and hopefully this is a game maybe he breaks out and have a couple of touchdowns. That'd be awesome to see. I think it continues for the Jags, the Colts over the dominance over the Colts. I want to say, and yeah, that game's in Boulder. It's only a 3-point lead for the Buffaloes with 5:06 to go in the fourth. This is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Buffs lead at 39-36.
We'll keep our tabs for sure when we're doing our picks here. So, next game we'll have is the Saints and the Texans. The Saints are 3-2. They're coming off of the blowout win in Foxborough against the Patriots. The Texans are coming off of a close loss in Atlanta against the Falcons. So this was kind of an up and down one. Now, the line right now is at -1.5 for the Saints. I like the Saints in this one. I think that the Texans are really building something for sure. D'Amico Ryans has done a great job. Their defense, CJ Stroud's played really good football. Ohio State represents Steven. But I think in this one, the Saints defense, I think they build off in terms of how they did last week. Derek Carr, I think, is going to build off in terms of his performance from last week as well, too. I'm going to go with the Saints. I think that it's going to be close. I think it's going to be like a 24-21 Saints win. And I think that the Texans have a chance at the end, but I think the Saints defense held its own. So I will go to Isaiah. Saints or Texans?
Give me the Saints. Those fans on Bourbon Street will be partying like there's no tomorrow after this game, because they're going to win this game and they're going to have the lead in the NFC South, and they're going to finally look like the team that I picked to win the NFC South and go to the NFC Championship. So give me New Orleans. I think this is going to be a defensive battle. Two great defenses going at it. You got the Saints D, D'Amico Ryans. I'm so proud of what he's built there in Houston. That defense has looked really, really impressive through the first 5 weeks of the season. Will Anderson Jr., the defensive end rookie out of Alabama, he's just dominated. He's looking like Nick Bosa and Chase Young combined out there. It's just, I think it's going to be kind of like a defensive battle. I don't think Derek Carr will have to do too much, but he'll do enough. And Alvin Kamara is going to have a good day in this game. So give me New Orleans. I'm going to go New Orleans like 16-13.
I'll go to you, James. Who do you have?
Yeah, I think the fans from New Orleans are going to definitely show up in Houston. It's not too far of a drive or a flight to Texas there. So expect a lot of black and gold in that crowd. The good thing for Houston, Laramie Tunsil might be back. He's had a knee injury, it seemed like all year long, but he had full participation in practice this week. So that's really big for CJ Stroud. Despite his numbers, we remember how he started the season. He was running for his life. And now he's kind of settled in, and he's going to get some more line help there. So that's really good. It should be a really close game. Derek Carr is going to underachieve, of course, like always. He's going to keep the Texans in the game. Might throw a couple of picks. But yeah, Kamara should have a great day. I mean, that should happen. I don't know if it will. But I'm going to go with the Saints, maybe by a field goal, honestly.
And what about you, Steven?
First of all, James, don't disrespect the Raiders legend Derek Carr like that.
Settle down.
He's the best NFL quarterback for the Raiders since Rich Gannon, which is actually saying something. So I will say this. Derek Carr and the Saints this year have looked absolutely impressive outside of that loss to Green Bay where Jameis Winston had to enter the game and blow it. And then obviously the recovery game that Derek Carr came into and lost to the Bucs, which because of that, Isaiah, no matter what the result for this coming Sunday, the Saints will not have the division lead, unfortunately, even if they were to win this game. But this will be a huge stepping point to being able to take the NFC South eventually. They were my pick to win the division. They're 2-0 on one possession games this year. They're obviously 1-1 in blowout games. They beat the Patriots last week in a blowout. They lost to the Bucs in a blowout with Carr coming back off that injury. And now Carr is absolutely fresh. He's looked amazing on the Saints. Every time he's been in there, he's given the team a chance to win the game, and really more than given the team. He's been clutch. He's delivered when the team's needed to. And you have a Texans team that is feisty, but they're coming off a heartbreaking loss against the Falcons. Obviously, they're going to want this game a lot, but I think that the experience of a veteran quarterback like Carr and some of the pieces they have on the Saints is going to outweigh what the Texans have. Give me the Saints to win in a relatively, mid to low scoring affair. I'll have the Saints taking this one 26-19, coming off that big New England win.
We've got a comment here. Houston sports will be 0-2 Sunday because
probably
the Astros and the Rangers. We'll see about that. Time will tell about that. But to think about it now, Houston is going to have a doubled header in terms of, they had the home early on and they had the home at night. So, all right, now we're out of the 1 o'clock slate. Let's go to the 4 o'clock slate. There are 3 4:25 games. We'll start with the Cardinals and the Rams. The Cardinals are 1-4. Joshua Dobbs kind of fell off the insanity earth a little bit last week, I guess you can say, even though he's been playing decent football. They've been hanging tough. I got to say, the Cardinals have really been hanging tough a lot of these games here. But with that being said, Cooper Kupp's back for the Rams. They had a tough one last week against the Eagles. So I'm going to go with the Rams. How about you, Isaiah?
I'm going to go with the surprise. Give me the Cardinals. The Rams, they just look like an icky team all season long. The Cardinals have been a pest in everybody's side. Like, regardless if you're a great team in the NFL or you're not that great, they've just been hanging in there. And, they beat the Cowboys. They hung in there with the Niners. Brock Purdy tore them apart later on in that game. They hung in there against the Bengals. I've been really impressed with what Jonathan Gannon has done in his first year with the Arizona Cardinals. And yeah, I know the Rams got Puka Nacua. They have Cooper Kupp there with Matthew Stafford as well. But I think the lack of the run game will really hurt them because those Arizona Cardinals corners have actually been decent this season. And I think that the Rams defense if you just run the football to the left side, Aaron Donald has not been a factor this season, which is very, very surprising outside of week 1. So give me the Cardinals in an upset. It's going to be a close game. It's going to come down to the final possession. And I got Arizona squeaking it out at the buzzer.
What about you, James?
Okay, so the unfortunate part for Arizona is that they will not have James Conner for a while. So that's going to hurt. The Rams are going to manage Cooper's injury against Arizona, so that's going to be interesting to see because they traded Van Jefferson to the Falcons. So they're down a receiver,
that's
but
right.
they do have Puka Nacua over the middle. It seems like he's getting open all day. He's going to have a fun day. I don't know. Maybe he'll have a couple of touchdowns. I'm going to go with the Rams pretty easy in this game. I maybe by 10, I would say. So not as easy. It won't be as easy, but they'll win though by 10 at least.
What about you, Steven?
Give me the Rams to win this one 27-14. I think this happens a lot to start the season. We just don't realize which teams are which. Like the Rams, they had an impressive opening week, beating the Seattle Seahawks in a dominant defensive performance in a second half comeback. And then you had the Cardinals beating what looked like to be maybe one of the most complete teams in the country, and very well could be in Dallas, but they just haven't looked up to par with what their roster shows. And the Cardinals beat them, right? So like they're riding hot coming into the game. And I think what the longer NFL season as it kind of stretches out is showing is that Joshua Dobbs long term is not necessarily that guy, right? He can't necessarily go and beat a team like the Rams consistently. Like, yeah, they'll fight hard, they'll compete just like any other NFL team against some of these playoff teams. But long term, you're going to have to find another answer at quarterback. And that's why they still got Kyler on the roster. So give me the Rams in their home stadium. Obviously, rivalry games are tough. You could have the Cardinals holding this to a one possession game throughout the first half, but I'll take the Rams to win 27-14.
Okay. Now I did get a message about the Raiders Patriots game. I did skip that. That is a 4:05 game. I know that Steven, you already kind of previewed it, so I'll go to myself at least first here. It's gonna be close. I don't think we're gonna get blown up for a third straight game. I mean, I hope not. I mean, the Patriots are only averaging 11 points a game. So the Raiders are averaging about 16 points a game, 15.8. So it's gonna be close. But I think that the Raiders are gonna beat us. Obviously, I haven't liked the way we've been playing. Our injury reports really like it's a massive list of a lot of well-known guys here, and I think that Mac Jones is he's rolling the fence right now, and I've really defended him for a while, even though he doesn't have a lot of help. His offensive line's awful. His receivers are bad. I mean, they're losing two of their guys, so it's just really ugly right now. So I'll go to you, Isaiah.
Ben, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I would not be shocked if this is Mac Jones's last game start as the starting quarterback of the New England Patriots, because with how bad it's been the last couple of weeks, with how Belichick needs to make a change. If it's really goes bad, I think it will go bad. I just don't see him having a lot of room for error. And sadly, with this Patriots defense or with the Patriots offensive line missing, I believe, the right tackle, Max Crosby is just going to line up on the right side and just run right after Mac Jones every single play. And it's going to be a disaster. I don't think the Patriots will be able to run the football against the Raiders. I do think Jimmy Garoppolo, he's always got those one or two picks that he always throws every game. So I do think he'll give the Patriots a chance in this game. But McDaniels knows Belichick very well. They know the system. The loss of Judon is going to hurt a lot because they don't really have that pass rusher that can get after the opposing team's quarterback. I got the Raiders winning this game. And I'm going to go Raiders. I'm going to go Raiders 24, New England 14.
And what about you, James? The battle of our teams. Who do you have?
James, you're muted.
That's how the game is going to be. It won't be smooth. It's going to be an ugly ball game. That's perfect. So, yeah, I'm wondering how J.C. Jackson is going to play. He wouldn't enter the game for the Chargers in that Week 4 matchup against the Raiders, but now he's with the Patriots there. So, wow, that's a good punt in this Colorado game. Wow, all the way at the 1. Anyway, yeah, so that's going to be a really interesting matchup with J.C. Jackson. I don't know who he's going to guard, but if he matches up with Jacoby Myers, that'll be interesting. That'd be a good matchup there. But Devontae Adams, I'm hoping, has a real good breakout game. I'm hoping so. Since the defense is depleted for New England, I'm hoping that's the case. I don't think we'll have any theatrics in this game like last year. Since Jacoby Myers is on the Raiders now,
Yeah.
he can
Unless
just
we want to have someone else.
yeah. I maybe we'll see Zappy again. I know Jones will start, but like Isaiah mentioned, I don't know if this might be the last showing for him. And the thing that I can maybe, if you're a Patriot fan like Ben, maybe you can count on Belichick knowing McDaniels, knowing a lot of those players that are on the Raiders that were former Pats, and maybe he can manipulate something. But the loss of Judon, that's really important because the Raider offensive line is so bad sometimes. I mean, they're so young, a lot of them, and other from Colton Miller, but that would really help. That would really sway things. But I think the Raiders win this game, but this could be a game where the Raiders have a big lead in the first half, like at halftime, and then somehow the Patriots, they, take advantage of some Raider miscues, or Zappy gets on fire. It always seems to be that way. If the Raiders have a 21-point lead at the half, or even 14, they allow teams back in. But I'm hoping that's not the case, but it might be. I'm hoping Jacobs can get going in this game. I know he scored his first touchdown last week against Green Bay, but he needs to get going if he wants to get a big contract. I'm hoping Devontae gets a couple of touchdowns. Jimmy G can look impressive, but I know Belichick, he's going to throw all of his experience with all these guys. That should be it's a pass interference. That should be key. If the Patriots stay in this game, it's because Belichick knows a lot of those Raider players. So give me the Raiders, but I think it will be maybe a 10-point win only. It won't be as bad as we think.
All right. Everybody do that game?
Yep.
Steven.
I said my prediction earlier. I think the Raiders win.
Oh, he did.
Low-scoring affair, 21-17. Like you said, Mac and Zappy, we don't know exactly where they're at. And the Raiders always like to entertain us and put all of us fans on heart attack alert. So they'll continue that. But they'll win close.
Mm-hmm.
All right. As we're watching the end of this Colorado-Stanford game, the Eagles are taking on the New York Jets. The Jets' offensive line is very banged up. Elijah Vera Tucker is out for the season. Mekhi Becton is out. So they're really depleted on their offense. So that changes a lot of things. I think that, Isaiah also said that Jalen Carter and Darius Slay are both out as well, too. I did see that as well. The Eagles are a 6.5 favorite. I think that the Eagles are going to win and go to 6-0. So I'll go to you, James. Who do you have in this one?
Man, those injuries hurt, but, of course, with Rodgers out, I don't care if he's walking without crutches already. He's not going to be playing. So that's going to be big for the Eagles, because maybe this will be the game Zach Wilson can have some success. I don't know, but at least he's kind of growing up in a sense. But that Eagle defense, even without some of their guys, that's still pretty tough to go up against. So that'll be interesting because Fletcher Cox should be back up front. That'll be a big deal there. Rashad Penny will be back from his illness. That'll help the Eagles' running game. It doesn't have to be Jalen Hurts. It seems like Hurts, I think Isaiah mentioned this last night, with the way the Eagles are winning. It's not like we saw last year. It's not as fluid. There's some bumps in the road. So maybe you'll see the Jets defense give the Eagles fits, but I think Philadelphia ends up winning. The Jets will jet and make some turnovers happen or something like that. I think the Eagles win this maybe by a touchdown.
All right, Isaiah, who do you got?
I'm gonna go with the Jets. Give me Zach Wilson and the New York Jets. I think they win this game. It's gonna be close. It's gonna be kind of low scoring. The injury to Jalen Carter is gonna hurt a lot because Jalen Carter is that interior defensive lineman that's really good at pass rushing and really good at stopping the run. And I think that with the Jets, they have a really high-powered rushing attack with Brees Hall and with Dalvin Cook. I think this is the game actually that Dalvin Cook's going to break out. I really think that he's going to have his first breakout game of the season with the loss of Jalen Carter, able to run right through the middle, and Brees Hall's going to have a great day. And with the run game, it's going to set up. It's really going to set up Zach Wilson with some really favorable field position. He doesn't have to do too much. He just has to, just do enough to be able to not to win the game for the Jets. So give me New York to win it. Jalen Hurts he hasn't looked that good all season long. Teams know that you stop the running game, you make him throw the football, you stop him with his legs. Then I really do think that he's going to be in trouble because he has turned the football over a lot this season. So give me the Jets, low-scoring defensive battle. I'm going to go New York wins like 17-13.
And what about you, Steven? 9 seconds in this game for those that are tuning in.
Yep. It's looking like it might go to overtime, but I will go with the Philadelphia Eagles to win 27-13. Just like the Dolphins and the Chiefs, their schedule has kind of aided them into a hot start. They're the only other 5-0 team besides the Niners. And I think that trend continues. You talked about like the Jets having a depleted offensive line. Ben, no offense to the Eagles offense, but I don't think the Eagles needed any more help defensively. And now you're telling me the Jets are going to come in here with not all of their tools on the front, and perhaps the most important part of the offense outside of quarterback. Yeah, like with Zach Wilson, I think it's too much of a deficiency to overcome. I know Jalen Carter is out. I know it's going to be a big loss to the Eagles, but Jalen Hurts has proven time and time again, statistical anomaly, statistical amazing performance or not, he is able to deliver in the clutch, deliver when it matters in the big moments. There's going to be some in this game, but I don't think too many. Give me the Eagles to kind of control this game the whole way in a deceptively kind of low-scoring 27-13 game. But I think the game tape itself is going to lend itself to a even more dominant performance than what the score shows by the end of it.
All right, we're going to take a little quick, pick break and watch to see if this kick goes in to update you here. So Stanford is right now down through with 5 seconds left, 36-33. So quickly before we get into the next pick. All right, here we go. So the snap goes here. The kick is up, and it looks like it's good. Yep, it's good.
Wow.
Going overtime.
Overtime.
What a perfectly executed 2-minute drive, Ben and James.
So the Buffaloes are up 29-0, and they choked it away. Wow. So we'll see in terms of how things go in overtime. Absolute stunner, shocker. But that's why the game's awesome. That's why, never know what happens.
That's why you play the game.
Let's go. Yep. All right, let's go to the Lions and Buccaneers. This is going to be, I think, a really close one. The Lions obviously are coming off of the 42-14 win against the Panthers. 24, I'm sorry. Buccaneers are coming off of a bye. So I think it's going to be really close. I really love the way that the Bucs have been playing this year. Now, Sam Laporta, I think, is going to be out in this one. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be out in this one. So two of their offensive weapons are out. And Amon-Ra St. Brown's been dealing with an injury, even if he's back. So, but with that being said, I think that the Lions, they're a 3-point favorite. I think that they're going to win. I have the Bucs covering in this one. I think it's going to be like a 23-20 type game, a really low-scoring type game, lots of defense. But I think the Lions are just a little bit better here. I like the coaching too with Dan Campbell as well. So I'm going to go with the Lions. What do you have, Steven?
Yeah, as I mentioned in this game before, it's going to be one heck of a game. I think that it's going to be an offensive showdown. And I believe that regardless of the outcome of this game, that the Saints will not have the division lead. The Bucks will retain that, thanks to some great performances by Baker Mayfield so far this year. I think Baker Mayfield is going to show out and impress us, and he's going to continue to keep this game close like he did against the Vikings. And the Bucks hang on just long enough to kind of have that game-winning attempt defensively or offensively to put the Lions away. But ultimately, I think Jared Goff and the Lions have been on the right side and wrong side of these moments way too often. They have synergy with the group. They're most people's pick to win the North, and they could be one of the favorites in the NFC after this week. After it's all said and done, this is kind of the week where you test the moxie of these contenders and see where they're at. And I think the Lions pass the bar and win this game 30-27. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be easy. But anytime in the NFL you can go on the road and beat a playoff team, that's a win that you've got to celebrate.
All right, who are you going with, James?
The Lions and Buccaneers. I will. Like I said to Isaiah yesterday, I hate that the Bucs had a bye week because they were kind of vibing. They were 3-1, and I feel like that momentum is kind of maybe gone away. Hopefully, though, they get Mike Evans back for this game. That's, I know, the big key there. But I know they're going to get some players, defensive players back. I mean, they had a bunch of them out so far this season, so that's going to be big. Jahmyr Gibbs will be out, but Ross St. Brown will be back. But I think that will make the difference. I'm going to say the Lions win, but just like Steven said, it won't be easy. And, Lions on the road, well, I know they've done well this year, but I think this game, it won't be as easy for them. But I'm going to go with Detroit.
And what about you, Isaiah?
I'm gonna go with Tampa. I think that with Tampa, there's a lot of magic right there. I like Baker Mayfield so much to the point where I take him over Patrick Mahomes. But when you think about Baker Mayfield, I don't know. There's something about him. He just has played such great football this season. They're running the ball well. Mike Evans. Here's what really stood out about the Bucs: Chris Godwin's reemergence. He has looked like the pre-torn ACL Chris Godwin. He's playing lights out, and that defense, surprisingly, we all thought that why is Todd Bowles the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? It makes no sense why he's still there, and his defense actually played well this season. So with Detroit, good rushing team. Do you trust Jared Goff to throw the football late in the game? Especially with Jared Goff, with the lead. Without the lead, I don't know. I don't really trust him. I just think that with Detroit, they can't play without the lead. So I think Tampa comes in there. It's in Tampa, I believe. So give me Tampa Bay to win this game. I'm gonna go Tampa. I'm gonna go with a little bit of a high scoring affair. I'm gonna go Tampa 35-31.
Wow.
All right. Now we're going to go to the Sunday night game. Giants and Bills. As Colorado just got a touchdown the first possession in overtime, so Stanford has a chance to respond. Bills are 3-2. Giants are 1-4. Two teams that are in opposite directions. Bills are coming off of a tough loss against the Jaguars. The Giants are coming off of a loss against the Dolphins. Now, the Giants are going to be without Daniel Jones, Adoree Jack, I think Xavier McKinney, three of their starting offensive tackle are linemen. They're going to be also without St. Lemieux, Andrew Thomas, and someone else on their offensive line. So I don't think it's going to be close. I mean, the Bills right now are a 14.5 favorite, so they're favored by more than double scores. You're going to have a Tyrod Taylor potential, revenge game possibly. No, that's not going to happen. Give me the Bills here. I'm going to go, 32. I think it's going to be more like a backdoor cover. So I think that the Giants maybe get like a couple scores here at the end. 30-14. I think it's going to be pretty like that type of a game. But it's not going to really be close. It'll probably be kind of, the Bills might put in some of their backups at the end. and kind of go there. So, what about you, Steven?
Yeah, this is going to be one of those games where, wow, the point spread looks a little bit eerily large, just like the Niners game and the Dolphins game. You had the Dolphins 13.5, Niners 8.5, and now you got the Bills in their stadium in Buffalo. Western New York's not going to be too kind to even the New York Giants, who are actually based in New Jersey. They're a 15-point favorite, but without Danny Dimes in the game, and with Darius Slayton kind of struggling throughout the year, as well as kind of Saquon Barkley questionable to play, you just wonder what pieces do the Giants have to come in here and compete. Now, I'm never going to say that, wow, they're definitely going to blow them out. There's a reason why, these shows are all speculation. We're making predictions after all. We can't see the future. But with that being said, with knowing what the Bills have on their plate and what the Giants have on theirs, and knowing that the Bills are coming in motivated off of an upset loss in London against the Jags, I just think they're going to come out here running angry, passing angry. They're going to come in with that desperation, that thirst to win, and ultimately they get the job done here. They win this game 38-14. James Cook and Josh Allen have themselves a field day against a shorthanded Giants team that can't control the clock with the offense and certainly can't control it with the defense either.
Stanford just responded with a touchdown. It is now 43-42.
Wow, what a catch!
Yep.
13's putting in work tonight.
We'll see if looks like they're going to go for the field goal. So we're going to be going to double overtime. This reminds me of the USC game, James, all over.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Hopefully they don't keep us up till it's 2 a.m. my time here, so I'm all for it. Thankfully it's the weekend. All right. So while we're obviously watching this game, a classic here, we'll go to the last game of the night. Cowboys and Chargers. Cowboys are coming off of a blowout loss against the Niners. The Chargers are obviously coming off a bye. This could be an up and two. Oh, I'm sorry, Isaiah. I just saw your comment, and I just did this game and stuff. It's been more a distraction. But the Giants and Bills game. How about you, Isaiah? What do you got?
Like I told James last night, the Giants wear red. The Giants wear blue. The Bills are red, blue, and white. I'm gonna be wearing red, blue, and white that day, but it ain't gonna be any of these teams' jerseys. It's gonna be the Texas Rangers jersey. Give me the Rangers Astros game over this any day of the week. So NFL, thank you so much for putting this test on TV so we can actually watch the heavyweight fight that's gonna be the Rangers and the Astros. But in terms of this game, give me the Bills. The Giants with Danny Dimes and with Saquon, they already are just flat garbage. And now you take out Daniel Jones, you take out Saquon Barkley, you take out one of their best corners. It's a recipe for massive disaster. So give me the Bills to win this game. It's in Buffalo as well. Buffalo wins this game. I'm going to go 37-10. That's how bad it's going to be. The Astros and Rangers are going to score more runs combined than the Giants score points.
Ben, I'm going to go 35-10 Buffalo. I know they're kind of banged up as well. Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid, both of their tight ends are questionable. But the Giants are questionable. The whole team is questionable. Tyrod Taylor, I know, will get the start. He may be looking for revenge, as well as Isaiah Hodgins, but they're inferior compared to what the Bills have. Diggs will probably have a couple of touchdowns. Allen will probably run for a couple. Hopefully James Cook has a good day on the ground. But it's going to be easy for the Bills.
All right, everybody got the Sunday night game. Let's go to Monday night. Dallas and the Chargers. Two coaches that are you talk about Mike McCarthy and Brandon Staley. And Christy Wilson, our fellow Cowboys fan. Thank you, Christy, for joining earlier. She has the Cowboys over the Chargers in a close one. I agree. I think it's going to be up probably till the end in this one. I haven't been a fan of Dallas this year, but I think that their defense responds after giving up a lot of points last week. I'm going to go with the Chargers. I think that, Austin Eckler's back. That's going to be massive for them. And I think that they find a way to win in a close one. What about you, James?
Okay, so I hate the Chargers. I don't want them to win. The crowd will be a capacity crowd, and it'll hopefully be mostly all Cowboy fans by a lot. I remember that was the case in 2021 when the Cowboys came to play the Chargers last time. But I don't think that's going to help them defensively or offensively. Dak, he's got to play better. He's got to find CeeDee Lamb. He's got to find his receivers better. There's got to be a better rushing game with Pollard. The defense has to be better. I know they're without Van Der Esch for a little while. That neck injury, I thought he was going to be out for more than what's expected. I mean, that looked really bad. Of course, they're without Diggs. I think the Chargers sadly win this game. I hope not, though. But Eckler's coming back, like you mentioned. Khalil Mack will probably be back there. Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa, he's questionable. But I think the Chargers, I think – you know what I think? I think this game, it'll probably be like 24-17 Chargers. And by the way, check out Christy Wilson on YouTube. She does her Cowboys predictions pregame and postgame. So check out that. I've been watching that for a couple of years now, getting my Cowboy fix from no one else but her on YouTube.
Good to know. All right, Isaiah, who do you have?
I'm gonna go with. I think this is a way better game than Sunday Night Football. This should be on Sunday Night Football, not Monday night. But give me the Chargers. I just feel like the Cowboys, they're missing something. The Cowboys feel like they're shook right now after losing to the Niners. Who knows how they're gonna respond to that? They have so many injuries on defense now. Van Der Esch is out. I think Wilson, is also out as well. One of their top special teams players is out as well. So it's a lot of, not only did they lose that game to the Niners, but they lost a lot of key players with injuries. And, that's going to really hurt for the Dallas Cowboys. For the Chargers, a lot of their players are coming back. Eckler's coming back. Justin Herbert, we know how great he is. I think the Dallas Cowboys, their defense is going to be tested once again. I don't think they'll be able to stop the Chargers much in this game, and I think that it's going to be a lot of offense, but Dallas's inability to score in the red zone is going to be what's going to haunt the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm sorry, I was muted. All right, what about you, Steven? Obviously, this is the last pick of Week 6. What do you think?
Yep, we got the best for the last here. And as I was looking at this game and what some of the experts were saying about it, the Cowboys have now moved down to a 2-point favorite. And you know what they say about teams that kind of get beaten badly and surprise you in a negative way? Buy low on them. Isaiah, Christy, James, Ben. And I'm going to buy low on the Cowboys here. I think giving the Cowboys 2 points here is a little bit too modest. I think the Cowboys should be at least a field goal favorite. You look at the games the Chargers have played this year. I mean, I understand Dallas lost to the Cardinals and they got their butts beaten by the Niners. They haven't exactly beaten the most impressive teams. But you go to the Chargers schedule here, they lost to the Dolphins at home, who haven't played too many teams. They lost to the Titans in overtime. So what that shows you is that their consistency in close games isn't there. Then they beat the Vikings off of some terrible decision making and a late interception on Kirk and TJ Hawkinson. And then they almost blew the game against the Raiders' backup quarterback. Like literally, Jimmy G couldn't even be in the game because of his injury. Their resume hasn't looked too impressive. So I'm gonna have to go with the Chargers or the Cowboys to win this game. And to cover, I'll take the Cowboys to win 28-24. It's going to be one of those classic kind of back and forth games. And unfortunately, I think whoever has the ball here last is probably going to end up losing the game because I don't trust Dak in prime time, but I don't necessarily trust Herbert against that defense and in big moments either.
So with that being said, we've got through our Week 6 picks, and looks like Prime Sanders is about to choke a massive game against the 1-4 Stanford Cardinals. Talk about
That was PI, by the way. That was awful. Oh my gosh.
Now, I got a question about this game. Heading into the second overtime, shouldn't Stanford have to go first? I believe it's like the rules are whoever goes first in the first overtime, they go second in the second overtime. And the Buffaloes went first in the first overtime.
That's weird. That's what I thought.
Yeah,
well,
like
maybe
this game was not
it's
officiated well.
maybe it's. I mean, possibly like whoever got the first score in the first overtime maybe gets like the,
Option.
first dibs or something. Yeah. All right. This is looks like gonna be gimme right here.
Oh God.
Right here at the end to conclude our show. It was 29-0 when we started, and Stanford is about to. Yep, they just won the game. Unfreaking.
Oh, they knocked
Friday
off
the
the 4-2 Buffaloes.
You know
Friday
what's
the
sad?
13th.
Like
Good for
the
good for
Pac-12. The Pac-12 is breaking up after this, and we have these great games and these great
my
schools
goodness.
going on this year. We have all these ranked teams, and the Pac-12 after dark has not disappointed this year.
Dude, that Colorado defense is so bad. I swear.
Remind me of USC's defense.
I mean, forget that. Put my high school team to play. I mean, my high school team only had like 12 players when we had our football team. You put them on the field, they might be able to score 45. I mean, that's how
number
fast-
13. Number 13 balled out.
Oh, goodness.
That was awesome.
Wow. All right. Well, really not much you have to say about that, but talk about a crazy game.
Oh man, what a win for Stanford.
Be really hard to match this weekend in college football after that. All right. Before we conclude for tonight, guys, I do want to get a little NBA type of fix here, and then we'll probably conclude for tonight. I'll go to all of you guys here, and we'll kind of save more of kind of the James Harden stuff for next episode. But let's just kind of go around. Let's name each of our Eastern Conferences 1 through 5 and our Western Conferences 1 through 5. So going for production for the season, and then we'll probably wrap it up for the night. So my Eastern Conference 1 through 5, I have the Milwaukee Bucks at number 1. I have the Celtics at 2. I have Philly at 3. I have Miami at 4, and I have the Knicks at 5. I'll go to you, Isaiah. We'll start Eastern Conference first. Your 1 through 5 in Eastern Conference projection.
So my 1 through 5. So I got Milwaukee at number 1. I still can't believe they were able to get Damian Lillard to pair with Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, what an absolute steal. And then I got the Celtics at number 2. I like how Boston, who was kind of in on Lillard, they see Lillard go to Milwaukee, and then they kind of rebounded by getting Drew Holiday as the consolation prize to kind of to keep up in that arms race with Milwaukee. So I really like that move. Plus, you got Porzingis, and Boston really hasn't had a dominant big like that ever since Kevin Garnett left. So I'm proud that Boston got him. And then I would say that my number 3, I'm going to go with the New York Knicks. I like what they did this offseason with another year under Tom Thibodeau, Jalen Brunson another year. I think that they're going to have that Cavaliers-like jump from like the number 5 all the way to 3. So I got them at 3. Number 4, I got to go with Miami. Jimmy Butler's there. I expect Tyler Hero to have a big year this season. And then, I really do expect, because Hero was about to get traded, and he didn't get traded, and now he's staying in Miami. So I think he's out for revenge. And number 5, fellas, I got a surprise for you guys. I think this is a team that's going to be like this year's Cavs and shock the world. I'm gonna go with the Orlando Magic. I like what they're building down there in Orlando with Paolo, Franz Wagner. He has emerged as one of the best shooting guards in the NBA, or young up and coming shooting guards. Mo Wagner is a guy that has played well for a center. He's played really good basketball. I just like what Orlando's building. The Wagner brothers is leading that team. They're playing great. And then, Cole Anthony, they have a lot of young guys that are just, out there to shine. And Paolo is going to take that next step, I believe, and really come on strong as a superstar. So I got Orlando at number 5. I really like what the Magic are doing.
Crazy and hot and bold. Nothing like Isaiah for you. Like it. All right, James.
I really want that for Orlando. I mean, I know they made the bubble playoffs and they made it, I think, the year before, Aaron Gordon, but I just want them to keep building. That'd be awesome. Number 5, I'm gonna go with Cleveland. I'm gonna go with Cleveland. Number 4, give me Miami. Number 3, Philadelphia. Number 2, Boston. And then number 1, just because Lillard got traded there, I'm going to go with Milwaukee. Maybe it'll be like last year. The New York Knicks and Cavaliers kind of flip-flopped this year, 5 and 6. But, yeah, Miami, that's the one thing. Miami won it, or Jimmy Butler won it, Lillard, and he's out for revenge. But also, he probably riffed the team a little bit, knowing that he has to play. He didn't want to play anymore with Hero and Duncan Robinson. He thought they were going to get traded away. That might be a lingering thing throughout the season that might drop him out of the top 5. But yeah, that's my top 5. So Cleveland, Miami, Philadelphia, Boston, and Milwaukee, number 1.
How about you, Steven?
Yeah, so we're going with East first, or are we doing East and West?
Eastern, yep.
So in the East, give me number 1, Milwaukee. I think that they could have easily won that series against Miami if Giannis were healthy throughout the series last year. You look at it, closed out in 5 games, but really each game, the score was so close. It was just the difference between a healthy and an unhealthy Giannis. So, fingers crossed, health preserved. As long as they can keep Giannis and Middleton healthy, I think that they can run through to the Eastern Conference Finals and then potentially beat the Celtics in that matchup. At number 2, you already know who I just included in my sentence. I'll take the Celtics. The one thing I'll say about the rest of the list and the teams on the East here is I don't think they have the big men to really stop a team like the Lakers or the Nuggets, even if they were to make it out of the East. So some of these teams that I include, yeah, they're going to be in the top 5, but they're going to have to look beyond their goal of winning the East because, great, you've won it. But now, if they are able to get to the finals, they just don't seem to have the personnel to contain a team like Denver or the Lakers. Like, getting Lillard is huge and everything. Getting Holiday is huge and everything. But I don't see how that helps you stop AD or Jokic. And Porzingis is no, world beater defensively. So the Celtics, number 2, I expect that they could win the East. And this is going to be one of their big opportunities to go and win a title with this core. They can't keep blowing them. Number 3, we'll go with Miami. Shooter's going to shoot. As long as they remain hot through the postseason and the regular season, get a good positioning, they can continue to be a top 3 team in the East, and they'll always be a thorn in the Celtics and Bucks side, as you've seen this past couple of years. Number 4, we'll go with the Knicks. I just think that Jalen Brunson is big time in the playoffs. Even though the Knicks historically aren't the best, I think that with the development of their core with RJ Barrett, with Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, they'll continue to enter more of these moments and make more and more of it. 5, we'll go with the Cavs. The Cavs, they're an interesting team. They're kind of like Boston, where they got a young core and they're quite complete around the team, but do they really? I guess they do have Jared Allen. So one thing about the Cavs is if they are able to pull off the unthinkable and advance to the finals, they could be one of those teams that, they have the physicality and big men to give the West a run for its money. And then at 6, it's really tough, but give me LaMelo Ball and the Charlotte Hornets. This one's going to kind
Ooh.
of shock you guys, but I think that he is just so outstanding individually that he'll keep you in every game. And it just seems like the Eastern Conference has a big surprise every single year. So I got the Hornets to take that leap.
Steven, you do realize that Miles Bridges got arrested again. He's probably going to get released. And Kai Jones, his idiot self, posted on Twitter, I formally request to be traded from the Charlotte Hornets. And he got cut literally the day after.
That's crazy. A couple teams in the play-ins right now for the Eastern Conference that might get into my top 5, 6. Watch out for teams like the Bulls. I still think the Bulls can be really fascinating. You have Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Vucevic there. Billy Donovan's, I think, a much better coach than I think people realize. The Atlanta Hawks, I think, should be fine too. You got a really good backcourt between Trae Young and Murray. DeJounte Murray. Sorry, I was literally about to point blank there. They actually played the Celtics pretty tough in the first round last year. For a little bit. So yeah, we'll see. Quinn Snyder did a really good job for them in his first year last year. All right, let's go to the Western Conference before we call it a night here. So this is going to be really fun. You got, Golden State, obviously, Phoenix, obviously Phoenix with the big 3 with Bradley Beal coming in. So it's going to be a little bit tougher. So, all right. So for the West for me, I'm going to go with the NBA champs, number 1, Denver. Obviously, I like Jokic and Murray to probably be there at the top, and Mark Malone. Obviously, winning a ring speaks for themselves. Oh, man. Number 2, give me Phoenix, the Suns. They have KD, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker with Monty Williams. Or no, wait. Monty Williams, I'm trying to think. Give me 1 second. Can you guys just let me know if Monty Williams is still on their TV? Because there was reports this offseason maybe that they moved on or something. Frank Vogel. Frank Vogel is their new coach. So, I was literally... Okay, thank you. I was a little bit drawing a blank. Wow, it's been a while since we talked NBA. But yeah, still, I think that Phoenix is going to be 2. Oh man, 3. Dallas. Give me the Mavericks. I really like Luka Doncic. Obviously, with their coach and Jason Kidd. I think that you have Seth Curry, Grant Williams. Obviously, you have Kyrie there. So I have them at 3. Number 4, give me the Lakers. I think that, really good team. LeBron obviously coming back for another year. They even added more pieces. They did a really good job this offseason. Got Gabe Vincent, Taurean Prince, Austin Reeves, their guy, Isaiah. He's doing great. Jared Vanderbilt. And obviously you have Christian Wood and guys that are really good off the bench. So give me them 4. And then, oh man, give me your Clippers, James, at 5. I think that if Kawhi and Paul George stay healthy, that's a massive if. But I think they can be they could be a 5 team in the Western Conference. So I think I'm going to have them at 5. But this is going to be really open for grabs, guys, because there's a lot of teams. Utah. I think Utah's a sneaky team still. They're always a team that's kind of right around in it. So if I had to put in like a 6 seed, I'd probably go with them. They also got John Collins. They have Colin Sexton, Laurie Markkinen. And then one of my fan favorite teams is OKC. I really like what they've been building. Chet Holmgren is going to be there finally after missing all of last year. So I'd say between OKC and Utah is my 6 and 7. So I'll go to Isaiah. I'd love to hear this one.
All right, this is going to be a wild, wild West. I can't wait for this season because the West is just so loaded. Let me start with number 1, guys. Let me start with. I'm gonna go with the Phoenix Suns. I think they overtake the Denver Nuggets for that number 1 seed in the West. They just have that star power with KD, with Booker, and Bradley Beal. And Booker's gonna be playing the point guard, just like James Harden did back in his Houston Rocket days. He's gonna be the guy running the show, dishing it out to KD, dishing it out to Bradley Beal. Nurk, the big man is kind of my big concern, but here's why I think that Denver is gonna overtake. Phoenix is going to overtake Denver. It's because of their guard play. I think that you have Jamal Murray on one end, Michael Porter Jr. is kind of inconsistent. With the Phoenix Suns, they have Booker, Beal, and Kevin Durant, and that's really lethal and really dangerous and really hard to stop. So I got Phoenix in my number 1. Number 2, I'm going to go with the Lakers. I think that the Lakers had a great offseason this year. Getting Christian Wood for the minimum, a guy that averaged 16 points per game, is an absolute steal. And Rob Pelinka should be investigated for just being a great thief. I don't know how many great robberies he's pulling off, but damn, I mean, I can't believe he got Christian Wood for the minimum. Yeah, get Christian Wood. You gave Vincent a good point guard off the bench. You re-signed D'Lo to a average type of a contract. Austin Reeves. You didn't even have to pay $100 million to get him. You only give him 4 years and $54 million. I don't know what half the league was doing, not even bidding on him. It makes no sense whatsoever. He's back. He's going to be running more of the offense as the point guard now, which is great because he's got great vision and the ball moves better when he's running the offense. And then you added Taurean Prince, who's a really good three-point shooter, really good defender. But the one that I really like is Jackson Hayes. Jackson Hayes is a guy that gives you energy. He's a guy that is a great screen and roll type of a guy. And Ben, James, and Steven, you guys might call me ludicrous for saying this, but Jackson Hayes reminds me of prime Dwight Howard. I mean, that's how guy looks right now, and he's been underutilized with the Pelicans, but I think that he's in for a bigger role now with the Lakers, and I think that he's going to be able to shine with the Lakers this season. So give me the Lakers as my number 2. Denver's my number 3. Losing Bruce Brown is going to hurt a lot for the Denver Nuggets, especially their bench. Last year, everything had to go right for the Nuggets to win the championship, and I just don't expect them to get the same amount of luck that they had last season this year. And now they're going to have to rely on Christian Braun to fill that role with Bruce Brown left, and I just don't know if he'll be able to do it. So give me Denver number 3. Number 4. Number 4. Number 4. There's a lot of great teams in the West. I'm going to do it. Give me OKC. If OKC had made the playoffs last year, I really still think, and Steven calls me delusional for saying this, but in my heart of hearts, I believe the Oklahoma City Thunder would have beaten the Denver Nuggets in round 1 last year, because I just don't think Denver would have been able to keep up with the pace and the shooting of Oklahoma City. It would have been a great series, but I think OKC would have won. And now you look at that young team with SGA, with Josh Giddey, with
it's nice.
With Lou Dort, Chet Holmgren. I mean, that guy has been looking so great this preseason. He's added to the mix. I mean, this Thunder team, they won like 40-something games without Chet, and now you add Chet, a guy that can block shots, defend the paint, shoot the three, dribble the ball, run the offense. I mean, this guy's a true unicorn. You add him to the mix, I expect him to have at least 50 to 55 wins this season. And then last but not least, number 5, we can't count them out. They're always somehow, somewhere, always in the mix. It's the Memphis Grizzlies. Jaren Jackson is there. John Morant's going to be back. He's going to be back, and I think they'll be able to take off. But, they had a lot of distraction last year, a lot of toxic chemistry. Those guys are out now. Dylan Brooks is in Houston. All the other guys that were kind of toxic, part of that toxic mess, they're out now. So I do think the Grizzlies are going to have better chemistry, and I think they'll be all about business this year.
My guy Marcus Smart's now over there too.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
I'm gonna miss. So he's gonna hopefully does well over there with Derrick Rose too. Derrick Rose was in the media day with them. It was Derrick Rose and Marcus Smart. So you guys had a picture together. It was pretty cool. All right. So James, did you get your top 5 for Western Conference?
No, I haven't.
Okay, go ahead.
I've been struggling with it because you can have like 7 or 8 teams in that 5 spots. Number 5, I'm gonna go with the Oklahoma City Thunder. I just feel like this is a year they make that big leap to being what they should be eventually. But it's a process. It's definitely a process. Number 5 will be the Thunder. I think they're gonna shock some people. Again, yeah, Chet Holmgren, Jalen, and Javian Williams. Both Williams is not related. That's going to be fun on their roster as well. We'll see if they make some trade deadline acquisitions. That'll make them even better. But yeah, number 5, I'm going to go with the Thunder. Number 4, I'm going to go with, oh gosh. I'm going to go with Sacramento. I feel like they can only build upon what they're going to be eventually. Just like the Thunder, but the Kings are ahead a step. They should have beat the Warriors last year, but they just weren't ready. It's almost like the Baltimore Orioles this year, and they're having Sabonis and Fox, all the other pieces there. They're going to have a good year again. Number 3, man, give me the Denver Nuggets. I feel like they're going to slip a bit. That does happen to the championship teams. When you lose players, you try to make up for it. And I know Isaiah just mentioned it with Brown leaving and Braun coming in there to fill that role up, which I think he'll do fine. But there's just aspects that Brown brought to the table that Braun won't be able to do right away, or not as well, I would say. Number 2, ooh, this is tough. 2 and 1. Let me get number 2. I'll take the Phoenix Suns. Obviously, they made the trade for Bill. I like Booker in that role. Hopefully, he's worked on his passing off of the dribble. You got KD, you got Bill. I'm hoping Nurkic can stay healthy. I'm hoping. That'd be awesome to see him. All he has to do inside is what DeAndre Ayton didn't want to do, and that's just rebound the ball, move some people around, And thank God they got rid of DeAndre Ayton. I mean, ever since the 21 finals, he didn't get along with anybody on that Suns team. And I'm shocked that he signed the deal to stay there. And that was good that they got rid of that cancer. And he's just off to Portland where he could just watch from the bottom. Number 1, I hate to do this crap, but
oh boy,
the Los Angeles Lakers had the best offseason that I could think of.
Hold on, say that loud and clear. Say that loud and clear.
No, I'm not repeating it. The Los Angeles Lakers had the best offseason out of the 30 NBA teams, and I wasn't going to say that, and then they got Christian Wood for like nothing. And I'm thinking to myself, that dude averages, like 15 points a game last year. Yeah. He was awesome in Houston, and they're going to add that to what they already have. If they're healthy, they could be the best team in the West. I really think so. Austin Reeves is going to get even more comfortable in the system they run with Darvin Ham. LeBron, even at age 20 or season 21, I think it is, he's going to be awesome. Anthony Davis, if he's healthy, he's going to ball out. Whenever they play the Suns, it's going to be very interesting because if Anthony Davis can just go down in the low block and just go crazy over the Suns and whoever they have, Nurkic, they'll put someone else out there, but he should go to work if that happens. So I'm interested to see whenever they play the Suns those 4 times, if Anthony Davis is playing, how well he's going to do. So the Lakers number 1 in the West, and I hate to do that, but Of course, this all, bars on injuries. The Clippers were really close, but again, I can't trust them. They get injured. One of the two get injured. They have players they don't even play. Covington, he didn't even play last year in big moments, and they signed him back for no damn reason. They should have just let him go to Detroit. The Warriors, they're trying to get something going, but they need Kuminga to do better. Dallas, you know what happened at the end of last year with Kyrie and Luka? I feel like that's going to fester throughout the year, where they're going to fight over the ball. It's going to be really bad. I don't trust Minnesota, but I know Anthony Edwards. They're going to run the offense through him now. Forget Cat, forget Gobert. New Orleans, they're young, but it's all on Williamson if he really wants to play. If not, just trade him to New York or Brooklyn. And Utah, I'm really, I wanted to put him in there, but I don't think they're top 5 worthy. So that's how I think the West is going to. And Memphis, I feel like with Rose missing half of the season or less, I feel like that's going to hurt him not getting in the top 5. So this is going to be a fun West.
All right, Steven. To wrap up with you before we go to final thoughts, what do you have?
Yeah, I'll make my picks pretty quick here. Number 1, it's self-explanatory. I know they lost some pieces, but Christian Braun, he is a winner. He's helped this Nuggets team tremendously as a role player. Jamal Murray, of course, as the co-star along Jokic, is going to keep hooping. Every postseason, he just seems to have an answer. Nikola Jokic, second best or best player in the world right now. He's going to keep balling out. So, and they got a great big man supporter in Aaron Gordon, who just crashes the boards like no others. He plays with such hustle out there. One of my favorite players in the league right now. The Nuggets are number 1, and until proven otherwise, they are still the best team in the league. I just think that their combination of role players, selfless basketball, and Jokic's humble ability to just keep on winning games, keep on churning win shares, they're going to stay atop not only the West but the NBA. Back-to-back titles for the Nuggets. This is a team that is going to get 3 rings together minimum. Okay, number 2 in the West, I'm going to go with the Lakers. Like James said, best offseason in the NBA so far. Maybe the Celtics could have matched that. Getting Drew Holiday was huge. Even if it might not help that much in playing the Western Conference teams, first goal is you got to get out of the East, right? So I'm going to go with the Lakers. Anthony Davis seems to be coming into his element more and more in LA. He's had a couple of down seasons when Westbrook was there, but with LeBron, it's just been that solid 1-2 punch. He's quickly becoming the best player on the Lakers, for better or for worse. And, even guys like D'Angelo Russell, they have stepped up in big moments. Like, even they get a bad rap. It just shows that this Lakers team is very deep. They're kind of like the Niners. It feels like every night a different player steps up to kind of put the game away. Reeves, Russell, LeBron, AD, so, and maybe Christian Wood now. So you just never know, right? So I got them at number 2. Number 3, I think the Suns are vastly kind of overvalued right now. Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, all these guys can't dribble and shoot the ball at once. This is not like 5-on-5 or 10-on-10 basketball with 2 basketballs at once or 3 basketballs at once. It's a 5-on-5 game, 1 basketball at a time. You got to play a team ball. You got to share the love around. And I just don't know if Devin Booker is that primetime playmaker. Like in big situations, do you really want him to be the main one handling the rock? I think no, not against teams like LA and Denver. Sure, they might beat the Timberwolves. They might beat the Kings. But in these big-time matchups, give me the synergy and continuity of the Nuggets and the Lakers right now. And possibly give me number 4, but just because the Warriors are aging a bit, same kind of issue. Like, I guess maybe they'll bring Chris Paul off the bench to not conflict with Curry. But they just have a serious size disadvantage here, guys. I think that right now we're in kind of a secondary phase of the NBA three-point shooting era where it's not just about small ball anymore. It's not just like, what are the smallest, fastest, and twitchiest athletes I can put on the floor anymore? No, that doesn't work anymore because you got guys like Jokic and AD where it's like, yeah, you can splash threes on them all night long. But as soon as you miss a 3 or as soon as even your opponent misses a 3, guess who's crashing the boards? Steph Curry or AD? Draymond Green or Jokic? I'm going to take the latter two in my own questions, my rhetorical questions, any day of the week to grab a clutch rebound. So it's just the small ball era is kind of dying down. Big players who can shoot and handle the ball are kind of manhandling the paint now. And the paint's important. And they're able to hit from outside, too, to stretch out other big men to defend them. So give me the Warriors at 4. Rounding out my top 5, like I said, every year there's a surprise team in the NBA, a team that kind of rises up. Give me the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think that the Timberwolves are going to kind of go the opposite way of the Vikings. They're kind of be like the Twins of the MLB, where they had a lot of one possession, within 5-point losses last year with Towns, Gobert, and Edwards. They're kind of integrating into that new core. And they got Mike Conley out of the Ohio State who makes the right plays at the right time. I just think that this is a team that's going to be able to turn around their close game fortunes from last year and clinch that 5th seed. You're laughing, Isaiah, but Anthony Edwards is that guy in late game situations. He really is that man. Bringing in Anthony Edwards has changed the whole synergy of the team. They haven't missed a playoff since. So laugh all you want. I think the Timberwolves are ready to make that next leap. And, hey, they could be the ones to upset the Warriors or the Lakers.
So, Steven, let me ask you before we end the show. So, Anthony Edwards, listen, I'm not going to dispute that. He's a great player. He torched my Lakers back when we played. But let me ask you. Karl Anthony Towns, he said he was the best center to ever play in the NBA, and he changed the game. How did he change the game?
I'm not going to get on you about hating on Towns and thinking that his statement is ludicrous. Towns is soft in big moments, but it's been proven when Anthony Edwards is the main guy who can step up, they haven't missed the playoffs, and they don't have further much to go up to get to that 5th seed. They just need to turn around some of these 1- and 2-possession games in their favor.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Guys, what a show. That was fun. Steven, gotta say thank you for coming on. A lot of fun. Isaiah, James, as always, thanks for coming on. Steven, before I let you go, and everybody, Steven, who do you have in the predictions for the NLCS?
Well, so the NLCS or ALCS, right? I'm going to go with the Rangers here. I think that the Rangers right now are the hottest team in baseball. They've just proven so dominant over the past 5 or 6 games, closing out the Rays like that, and then going on and closing out the Orioles as well as you did, a 100-win club. It really is about who gets hot at the right moment, especially Ben and Isaiah after choking a prime opportunity to win their division, to come out like that, to have to win 2 rounds to get to the ALCS. I think they're riding a white-hot wave of momentum, and as baseball has shown in these kind of lower-scoring types of games like baseball, hockey, and soccer, it's the hot team that often wins. And the last thing I'll say before I leave the show, or before we wrap up the show, is it's been one heck of a ride so far. I really enjoyed the Stanford game. Actually, the photo that I have here, my profile picture, was taken at the Stanford Memorial Church, where I got married to my wife, Helena, this past summer. So big win for her team and her school. And I'm glad that the coach gets to keep the job and continue to run a more modern offense, Isaiah, than David Shaw's offense.
Well, Steven, we appreciate you coming on, and more than welcome to come back. We'd love to obviously have you for sure. But final thoughts for Isaiah and James. I think I'm pretty much going to keep my voice fresh for next show. So we had a great one, and well, obviously I'll keep you guys in tune in terms of when the next show is going to be. And like I said, possibly after the LCS on Sunday night. So keep in tune. I'll go to you, James. Final thoughts?
It was a great show. Like I mentioned before the show, I was like, man, this is going to be a great script and a great show. A lot of great topics.
A lot of fun stuff.
We ran through it all, so that was very good. I'm ready to. Well, I got some shorts to do on YouTube, check me out at the Chair with James. But I'm gonna do those and then get to sleep because I gotta get up early. Everyone, take care, and thank you for having me on. It was good to hear from Steven. Haven't heard from him in a while, and then all those crazy predictions by Isaiah. Man, that Stafford game, if that's the first of many wild games we'll have this weekend in all sorts of sports, I'm ready to be home. I'm ready to stay home and watch it all.
Friday the 13th brought a lot of us between Isaiah's bus situation, between me saying that Colorado was up 29-0 and they're looking for that, between Steven coming on unexpectedly. We appreciate Steven coming on as usual, and frequently it was awesome for Steven to come on. For Colorado to choke it, I mean, we had it all on Friday the 13th, guys. It was awesome. Had a lot of fun. And then Isaiah, I'll go to you, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, what a great show. What a great start to this weekend, man. We got college football tomorrow, and then Sunday we got the NFL. But this is probably the first weekend or first time ever that the NFL and college football plays second fiddle to what is the main entree, and that is right here, guys. Rangers, Astros. I'm trying to win my $50 this season. So please, Rangers, please do not choke this for me. I will not be a happy camper if you choke this. But man, I cannot wait. Astros, Rangers, ALCS game 1. It's going to be a hell of a series. It's going to be a heavyweight fight. I cannot wait. I'm going to watch every single one of these games. It's going to be fantastic. And man, I cannot wait for it. And it's going to be just a great weekend in sports. And you know what? I really do hope that we get Game 7, Scherzer, Verlander, winner take all for a spot in the World Series. It would be the best and most intense game of all time.
And Isaiah, if that'll happen, I will decide to do a watch party on here.
All right.
I'm in for that.
So it'll be essentially a special edition. I'm considering doing some post-game shows as well too. So if you guys want to keep in tune with that, because obviously we're kind of getting deeper, and there's obviously a lot of stuff where we can kind of talk off the air in terms of outside of Battle Up. So keep in tune to that. I'm kind of considering doing maybe some like watch parties or it's kind of some other fun stuff. So Game 7 for sure. If that ever happened, we definitely will want to try to plan something. Steven, any final thoughts with you before you go? Like I said, Steven, thank you for coming on. I had a lot of fun with you for sure, and you're more than welcome to come back on.
Yeah, I really enjoyed my time kicking it with Kruse, pun intended. Like we all said, it was a heck of a Stanford game. I'm glad that my wife's alma mater was able to kind of survive this one. And I think what it proves is that Colorado as a team, they're not ready yet. They're not ready for prime time. Obviously, 4 wins is a heck of a lot better than 1 win. And by the end of the season, they'll probably have 6, 7, or 8 wins. So big improvement for Coach Deion Sanders. But, just like with Marcus Freeman and some of these other young coaches, like you just have some blunders sometimes. And, any opponent can beat the other opponent on any given night. Like we've seen it so many times, time and time again. Arizona put USC to the test, and Caleb Williams delivered. Drake May has been put to the test a couple of times this year, and he delivered. Shedeur Sanders put to the test and, throws a ultimately game-ending interception. It just kind of shows you what he still needs to work on and the gap between him and some of these other quarterbacks. So we'll see what happens with that. One last thing I got to say is I got to give a big shout-out to Isaiah. As he was kind of talking in our chat, he said that if Colorado were to get stopped here, up 39-36 with about 4 minutes left in the game and the ball, Stanford could win this game. And that's exactly what happened. Colorado got stopped. Did Stanford score the game-sealing touchdown? No. But they forced overtime and ultimately kicked the field goal to win the game.
Absolutely madness at its best. And it was an absolute madness of a show tonight, guys. So with that being said, thank you guys as always for coming on. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the football this weekend. And like I said, next show we'll try to maybe do after the LCS game 1. I'll keep you guys in tune. So with that being said, Isaiah Leon, James Gonzalez, Stephen Wayne, Thank you guys for joining Kicking with Kruse. Have a great rest of your evening, guys, and we will see you guys next time.
Oh my God! Big goal to go from the two. Toss sweep one for James White. Cuts it under the right arm. Cuts it upfield. Driving forward. Diving to the goal line. A touchdown and a title for the Patriots. I can't believe it. Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler.
45 remaining. Tatum drives down and throws it down. Bases loaded. 2 out. Hard hit into right. Back at the wall. Tie game. Big Poppy.
No icing. For the first time in 39 years, the Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup.
Anything's possible.